Hi, everyone.
Hi, buddy. It's just Steph and I. It's the Steph and I show today.
Yeah, we're taking over.
Yeah. Well, in fact, we've
Sorry,
taken
Jeff and Dana are leaving now.
I'm leaving. Bye-bye. Have a good
here.
day.
What are you guys doing?
No, you said you were.
You're taking it over the show
You
right
said you
in
were
front of me?
leaving.
Yeah, we
You said
didn't
you were
want to
leaving.
tell
I
you.
thought you'd at least wait until I left before you started.
Nah.
Okay. I see how it is.
Bless you.
Excuse me. I hope I didn't spray you at all.
Just a little bit.
Got it all the way over here in Atlanta.
Yeah. Little mist. Wow.
Oh, damn. Oh, well, I hope you don't catch it.
Well, you said you were feeling fine. I'm the one who has all of a sudden started to feel the effects of the allergies from the pollen in the air here. Although I don't think it's apparently the grass pollens are very high today. So I'm wondering if I'm more allergic to grass pollens than tree pollens.
Oh, could be.
Because the tree pollens have kind of come and gone mostly, all the nasty yellow stuff that covers the cars and everything else. So, but yeah,
absolutely.
I'll live though. I'm just
good for
a little itchy, watery eyes and sneezing a little bit.
You got some itchy bits, have you?
I've got some itchy bits. From
you
here
can get
up.
an ointment for that, you know.
Yeah, no, from here up, it's okay.
I'm not looking at the video. Sorry, I'm just I'm trying to get some pictures ready for a bit later on.
Right. Yes, we do need to do that. So how has everyone in the chat room been over the past? When did we do our last show, Nick? Was it Tuesday?
Yeah,
Tuesday?
It was a day earlier, so it was Tuesday, I think.
Yeah. Okay. That'll help me remember what I've done in the meantime.
Select all. Export.
So, yes, chat room. I need your participation here to keep you entertained. Let's see, who have we got? We've got Ron was around. Ivor, Plane Safety Podcast. Hey Pip, Neville Bounds, Mike Kuipers, Tim B UK, Owen Finnegan, Liz Piper. Hi Liz. Greg Peterson, first time watching the live feed.
Oh, welcome hi, Greg. Hey.
Dave W., who is still working through the various stages of his sunburn from this past weekend.
Poor Dave. Choose.
Not getting any sympathy from his other half, unfortunately.
That's just so unfair. Resized to
Joe Driver, main man Micah.
Okay.
Aaron Ort. Who else? I'm sure I skipped over somebody there. My apologies if I skipped you somewhere. So, Neville's a bit sunburnt as well. Oh, and that would be my dogs barking at the deer, probably. Any idea which show number this is, Nick?
Yeah, no idea. It ends in a 5.
Great, thanks. 375?
I think so. Yeah.
Excellent. A little sniffly too. Some post-nasal drip. Craig Messerman, howdy. Apg.
That would be real nice if I could get pictures of people as they were speaking, but I don't think I'm going to be that well coordinated.
You'd have to remember who spoke in what turn.
Yeah. And recognize their voices and everything else. But, well, I'll do my best.
Hello to Stephen Ivy. I'm just going to announce people as they come into the chat room. We will be starting here.
Yes, very
soon-ish.
Very soon. Dana's having his roof replaced, and that's not a metaphor for anything.
For anything.
Actually, his home's roof. And he's talking to the what do you call that guy? The supervisor, the foreman? Yeah.
Jeff is on the beach, apparently.
Yes, I'm in a tropical
life's a beach.
It's very nice tropical breeze.
No allergies before we start.
Yeah.
Right. I think I've got most of the ones I want. Yeah, that'll do. Okay. 2 operations in progress. Oh my God. All right.
Yeah, your video has frozen at the moment, but I think it will come back eventually.
Yeah, I think I'm giving my computer a bit of a hard time right now.
Well, tell your computer to suck it up and do some work for once, huh?
Yes, right.
Wow.
I'll be right back.
It's got to pull its weight.
I can't.
Plans on being part of the APG.
Nothing.
No sympathy from me when I'm
Yeah,
feeling congested and
I know what you mean,
allergic.
though. When I'm a little grumpy and grouchy when
Mhm.
I'm under the weather.
Like, don't have
Little-
time for any of this.
Little
really.
tolerance for anything. All right. So I assume that since you were speaking or asking about the number of the show, that you have started your recorder or are about to.
I have
Okay.
about 3 seconds ago. All right. Oh God! Don't fall off the chair. Careful! Don't fall off your beach chair there.
Yeah.
It gets sandy. Sand in
No,
places you don't want it.
I have a different attitude about like all this sensitive equipment and sand. I don't really care. Just
I know. We've proven that time and time again on this show.
I should start mine as well. I'm recording.
Recorder, Nick.
Pardon, recorder.
Recorder.
Good idea. Drag that over. Get rid of that stuff. I'm not terribly well organized this week. Yeah,
Join the club.
Yes.
Oh shoot! I don't want it there.
APG show.
Okay.
That's funny, Steven.
Yep, I'm recording.
All right. I stopped recording.
You stopped recording?
Yeah,
We're done?
My
All right,
cursor was
good night.
no. Don't you do the same.
Huh?
Do as I say, not as I do.
What did you say?
I
Stop
said
recording.
You recorded, but
Oh.
yeah. Well, that I was talking to myself, not you.
Got it.
I need to make sure that the cursor is at the beginning of the timeline, not the end.
I have no idea what that means, but good luck.
Yeah. So I'm using the thing that I use as a multi-track recorder.
I gotcha.
And the cursor was all the way at the 3 hour and some odd minute mark. And
Right, I've cancelled the transfer to Neville so that I've got a bit more bandwidth.
Okay.
Yeah, Neville, he does have a little bit of 50 hertz or 60 hertz. I think that's 60 hertz, isn't it?
Who has it's 60 hertz for us.
For lights, yeah.
Oh, have I got a bit of flicker going on?
A little bit.
Oh, the lights. I'm not sure what
I
that
think
would be.
maybe it is.
I'm thinking of the sound.
Sound, yeah.
But
Sound
it also affects lights as well.
Sound is 60 hertz. I know that much.
Well, it depends on whether you're UK or US. I think
Probably.
they have a different frequency.
Yeah. I just know 60 hertz interferes with my electrodiagnostic testing machinery all the time.
You ever hear that, like that ground looping kind of sound?
I don't hear it. No, I don't hear it here. I hear it when I'm doing that test because it's very sensitive. But
okay. Yeah, that's when you know you have that 60 hertz hum.
Yeah, and then I have to go searching for what to unplug.
Yeah.
Unplug everything, basically. Like, no.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun.
So UK is 50. Micah knows. UK is 50 hertz. US is 60 hertz.
Yes, that is my understanding.
Yeah, yours hurts more than us.
Mm-hmm.
By 10.
Mm.
It wasn't really that funny, but thank you for laughing.
Yeah,
I
you're welcome.
appreciate it. Well, Nick laughed more than you did, Steph.
I laughed a little bit.
No, you didn't.
You didn't hear me laughing?
No.
I was laughing. That was me laughing.
Oh, that was you laughing. Oh,
That was
okay.
not
Yeah.
me laughing.
It was
I didn't hear me
Jeff was
laughing at all.
imitating my laugh, which I thought was very good. I didn't have to bother.
I wasn't looking at the screen.
Just
so I
trying
didn't
to
see.
bring your workload down today, Nick. Just
I
make things
need
easy
that.
for you.
I need that. I'm actually a bit maxed out today for some reason.
Well, just relax, chill. You know, we're just doing this for fun, and whenever we get to it, we get to it, regardless of how the people in the chat room feel.
Yeah.
Poor
Take
people
that.
in the chat room.
But we do care about you people in
I
the
am
chat
not
room.
very nice today, am I?
I need to, by the way, I need to open up a window for the chat room. So, where would I find that?
14,
I'm gonna have to make notes for myself.
15,
Ooh, I've had the speakers on the whole time. Could you tell?
16.
Nope.
Nope.
Okay, they're off.
17. Bed knobs and broomsticks. Okay. By the way, you can generally knock off about 45 seconds or a minute for the runtime of Plain Tales, because I always have a bit extra for my little statement at the end that we don't play.
Exactly. Is that for
Liz?
Consumption?
No, that's me just saying it's part of the the airport.
Nick, when did you start drinking today?
Life of leisure is really.
Yeah, I know.
Really,
I've just
taking a
stopped
toll.
thinking. I just literally have stopped. Yeah, it's where I do my little disclaimer. This has nothing to do with me. This is all the airline pilot guy's fault. So if you have any complaints,
I'll
Fair
take all the credit
I guess it's
and all the
for
blame.
both Liz and Jeff then, because
Okay.
so that way
I
you know
already
when
knew
to
that.
stop it. You already know that, but for when Liz
But thank
she
you.
writes like in parentheses next to the show title how long the segment
Audio
is, so I know how
Yeah.
long I have to go do other things and not pay attention for a while.
there you go.
Cruel.
I could twist this to the right a bit, actually. How's that?
Ooh, twisted. You're a
Doesn't seem to
twisted
make
man, aren't you?
any difference.
Oh, Greg, your first time in the chat room, this like preamble stuff, no telling how long it goes on for. Sorry.
Oh, usually an hour or two, and then we start the show.
Yeah, I'm going to come back.
Say it
Go
all
out and
again.
eat, bathe the kids, whatever.
Yeah, you got time.
No,
It's because
it just
we're not
seems like
organized.
Just seems like it takes
We're
out.
not organized.
Do you want me to pop that logo up quickly that I was showing you earlier?
That's okay. I think.
No, you
I
don't
think
want to
we're
see the APG logo again?
No, I think they know what it looks like.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm sure they'd love to see that.
Kids.
Is my flickering reduced? Not at all, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, it was. I think it was just a case of upping the brightness a little, because as it gets dark, it reduces the frame rate.
Ah, yes.
So the frame rate is no longer. Oh, it's still there a bit, but you can't.
A little bit, but it's not bad. Okay. Still waiting for Dana. Let's do some sound checks here. Well, that's no good. I got to connect it actually to the mixer. Might work better.
WAPG.
All right.
It's the airline.
Oh, let me make sure that it's coming through on that.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the airline pilot guy.
Blah 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 blah.
That sounds just like you on a normal day.
Oops, I think a little snot just came out of my mouth. Sorry. you made me laugh through my nose.
I'm sorry. That was good. I'm just laughing because I can totally see that happening to me right now too.
My big red handkerchief.
Yeah, please. Oh
Yeah,
man!
I'll hold it up to the screen and you blow. Okay.
Show title. I think I just some snot just came out of my right nostril.
Well, it's
as
a
it
good
doesn't
job you've
land
got
on
a
the
snot
screen.
catcher there, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have to clean that.
I
mic
watch
now,
this
too.
every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm very conscious of the amount of snot that may or may not be in my nose right now.
I got a Lancaster on my.
I know it's there. I've heard it.
I know.
What'd you say?
I've got a Lancaster on my breast.
I've got a Spitfire.
I have.
I'm a big bomber, and
Nothing.
you're
It's
a
actually a
little
little-
fighter.
Yeah, well, don't discount the little guys, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I did.
You guys got sniff switches.
Nope. Just
Oh,
gonna.
y'all.
Tex-Mex. Oops, not that one.
WAPG.
Okay.
Oh, to get my shorts
Sound like-
comfy.
Sound like dogs in the background or something.
Woo, woo. I've got 2 dogs in here today.
I know, but I think it was you that sounded like dogs trying to escape.
I'm just stretching out.
Oh boy. Okay. Oh, Dana's back.
Hi, Dana.
I'm sitting right here with the thing on mute because it's getting noisy again. So
Okay. Let's unmute long enough for us to get your recorder going and for us to do one of these little things.
okay.
Oh,
well,
dang it. That was premature. I'm sorry.
that's what she said.
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
I know. I hate when that happens.
Recorder. Hold on. Recorder.
Okay. 3.
Hold
2.
on. I'm not recording yet. All right. Now I'm recording.
3. You have your. Okay, yeah, I see it. 3, 2, 1. Perfect.
Every time.
Oh, the dogs jumped.
Ah, shit. Except I just hit mute. I mean, I just hit re-record.
Shoot. Did you mean shoot?
No, we need to do it once more. I'm sorry. I hit the wrong button. That's what she said.
Oh, there's someone knocking at your door.
Ah, no kidding. That's what's going on.
Someone's knocking at the door.
My dogs are
Someone's
barking.
ringing the bell.
Actually, I've got 10 minutes of recording here, so I'm going to
I know. You know what?
New
I'm
recording.
going to do the same thing.
All right, let me do this.
Okay, new recording.
Hang on.
All my fault today.
Uh-oh.
Dang it.
Sorry. Okay.
Hang on. Hello?
Hello. Knock, knock.
Okay. We were at the beginning, and oh, so they must be overhead again.
Nope, not on the other side. That was still
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, yeah, wait till they get overhead.
exactly.
All right, here we go. Recorders are recording. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
It was better the first time.
No, it was stellar the second time as well.
Okay.
Just stellar. Perfect. All right. Liz, are you ready? Give us the high sign. And Danny, you can go ahead and mute. Thank you.
You're welcome.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 375.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy show, the view from our side of the cockpit door, with your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from Studio 1A at APG headquarters outside Atlanta. Today's show is recorded on the 15th of May, 2019.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Get you right and it's flying by. With the Airline Pilot Guy.
In today's episode, a deadly mid-air collision between 2 sightseeing planes in Alaska. A mother thanks the crew and passengers on an American Airlines jet for saving her daughter's life. And a Qantas flight that's environmentally friendly. More news, your feedback, and in today's Plane Tales, bed knobs and broomsticks. So get all settled in, tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions, electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 375 is ready for pushback.
Thanks, Radio Roger, a real-life radio announcer in the world's largest media market. Thank you very much for doing that for us. Oops, a little premature there with the old audio. Sorry, Steph.
It's embarrassing.
It
I
is.
get
So you're listening to the you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy show. It's an aviation podcast, and it's where we every week get together to talk about aviation news and give our commentary and also try our best to answer your great feedback. And helping me to do that from her lakeside studio in South Carolina, a doctor, skydiver, marathon runner, strength training junkie, IPA connoisseur, and commercial multi-engine instrument rated pilot, Dr. Steph.
So many things.
So many things.
So glad to be here with you on this lovely Wednesday afternoon, Jeff. And looking forward to a really great show this afternoon. I apologize in advance for my sniffles.
Oh, it happens. And also joining us from his studio in the English countryside, professional photographer, former RAF fighter pilot, current captain for an international airline based in London. It's Captain Nick.
Good evening, Jeff, and hi, everybody. What a lovely series of things we've got to talk about tonight. I'm really looking forward to it.
I am as well. Also joining us from his studio near the Concord Covered Bridge in Smyrna, Georgia. He's a barbecue master, motorcycle rider, pontoon boat skipper, underwater photographer, and captain for a major U.S. legacy carrier. It's Captain Dana.
Well, perfect timing. Have some background noise to enhance the show this evening, and I'm trying not to get too banged up this evening. So
Okay.
we'll keep it at that and keep it.
Keep
kinda
that hard hat
quiet.
on, man.
I'm going to keep my hard hat on.
Okay. All right. So, well, while we have you with your mic open, with the all the noise in the background, please tell our wonderful listeners what the heck is going on. What are we hearing?
Well,
People falling down
perfect
your
timing.
stairs.
On cue. Right now, I am having a new roof applied to my house, and they picked, of all days, today. They were
Mhm.
supposed to come tomorrow, which I thought would have been absolutely perfect. But they decided we moved it. They were running ahead of schedule, so they moved it up a day, and well, here we are. So we're going to have a little ambiance in the back every once in a while when I'm talking, but I'm going to try to minimize that as much as I possibly can.
Ah, lovely. So, how have you been, Dana, since the last show?
I'm doing great. I had I received some very interesting mail. I got a flyer from a company that is hiring corporate pilots that says on the front of it, "Soar pilot careers at." Well, I guess I can use the company name,
Yeah.
JetLinks. So they have this recruitment package that they sent me with their entire history, what their strengths are, where their bases are, and who they generally tend to fly, which is all corporate. Very similar to something like FlexJet. They are recruiting, and they even gave me all the information as far as their pay goes, type of aircraft they fly, how their schedules work, and all the background information you'd ever want to know about all the bonuses, meals, and all the expenses they pay. So I guess they're very interested in finding pilots. I think that's really kind of the sign of the times that we are in a new era, that we are getting mailers in the mail to anybody that happens to have a certificate to come fly for certain companies. That's not the first time that's happened.
I'm
as far-
sorry, but I had them send that to you. Thought you might be interested in career change.
Is that a hint? I actually should have had it sent to you so you get out of my way in seniority. Speaking of seniority, you're not going to be retiring on the airplane, I understand now.
What? What do you,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well,
It's
probably
going to be
not.
going away too quick.
Well, it depends. We'll see. But
Well, you're of the age that you do need depends. That's correct.
no. But
So, anyways,
for those of you who are not in the U.S., Depends is a brand of adult diaper. So now you get the joke. Yeah. So continue, Dana.
yes, I was going to continue. I just came back from a 4-day trip, and I had a very pleasant surprise. I did pick up this trip very last minute. The trip included overnights in Omaha and Daytona, and another place in Greensboro. So my FO was quite surprised. I saw my friend in Omaha. He's the gentleman that owns the condo down in Florida, and I had a very nice lunch with him. And also, he's my scuba diving friend that I have been worked with at the old shop they used to work at. So I had a little kind of mini meetup. Jeff, you met him, Mike, when we had that Omaha meetup. So
Right.
I didn't, and pardon me, all my friends out there, that I did not put any of this out there because, well, I quite literally picked it up Thursday evening for a Saturday night departure. And I never really posted my schedule this month anyways, because I was hoping to change this trip that I originally had. Then in Daytona Beach, all my trips were completely polar opposite of what Jeff would want to do. And that is, I was getting in at midnight or thereabouts. So got into Daytona very late, very short overnight, 12 hours. But I went and surprised my friends that I usually stay with down there. They just opened up a restaurant at Bike Week. I usually stay down there at Bike Week, and they just opened up a restaurant on Main Street. So I took my FO there and surprised them. And then the last surprise, I was flying into the Triad area and was talking to approach control, checked in, and we both recognized each other's voices pretty quickly that time of night, and had the opportunity to have a surprise meetup with RH
Oh, nice.
from opposing bases the following morning for a nice breakfast.
Oh, so he made time to actually meet up with you. He never has time when I'm there.
I guess I'm more important. No one can. No, it just happened to work out because his son, he was supposed to take care of his son. His son was came down with a cold, so he was indisposed. So he didn't have his son at that moment. So he was able to come out. AG was unable to join us because he was going to I think West Virginia for the day to pick up a vehicle. So, but it was great to see him. My FO joined me on every single time I invited him out. I invited him out. 29 years old and a stellar pilot. A really, really humble guy that was very much a joy to fly with. Sharp, knew how to fly the airplane. And we didn't have any real big events. I mean, the weather was fantastic. And just landing late at night, that was the only big challenge. Of course, Daytona was a big challenge because the long runway was supposed to be closed, but fortunately that night it happened to be open, so we didn't have to land on runway 16, which is only, I think it's 6,003 feet long, or maybe it's
Something
8
like
feet.
that.
Yeah, it's very close to that. So it would have been a captain's landing only, with a lot of parameters that had to be met, wind and weather and et cetera, so in aircraft equipment. Other than that, uneventful.
All right. Excellent. So let's see. I'm trying to figure out which one would be best to choose next because
Pick me. Oh,
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, you.
Yeah, that's okay. I can.
Whose voice is that? I'm trying to decipher it.
That's Dr. Steph.
Oh, Dr. Steph. Yes.
I know it's like a little scratchy and lower today. I could see how you easily confuse me with
Yeah.
Captain Nick. Here, sorry.
Yeah.
So let's see. I was trying to think just before we start recording when the last time we recorded the show was, and it was a week and a day ago on a Tuesday.
Mhm.
So the following day, which was the 8th, I believe, of May, I had a meetup in the Charlotte area.
Yeah.
I think some of you know that guy, JJ Pittsburgh. He was actually in the Charlotte area as well, which was actually planned on his part quite a while back as he was attending a wedding, I believe. Excuse me. And so kind of threw it out there for anyone who wanted to join up with us, and ended up being met by Armando from Plain Talking UK and his lovely wife, Megan. We all went out to Heist Brewery in the Noda area of Charlotte. Had a wonderful time. Didn't manage to record any audio, so sorry about that. But had, a nice time.
Let's do a reenactment then. Okay, I'm going to create the background ambiance.
So you could have
Gurgle.
basically food. And then we played. We stuck around for a while and joined in. Nick's doing a better job of reenacting than I am right now. We ended up playing
again.
Oh my gosh!
I'm
We
sorry,
ended up
it was a bad idea.
playing trivia for a while, which we were really good. So I think when JJ Pittsburgh talked to you guys before, he mentioned he's very into music. So we were very good at the music trivia round. We were not so good at any of the other trivia rounds because none of them contained airplanes. So, oh my gosh.
Not sure what that is.
I don't know what that is either. Yeah. But anyway, we had a very lovely evening, and my thanks to JJ and Armando and Megan for a lovely evening. So that was Wednesday. Thursday, I actually, for the weekend, I had a chance to go and visit a dear old friend of mine who I've known for probably close to a decade at this point. Someone I met out in Eastern North Carolina. She's actually also a pilot and a skydiver. I haven't seen her in a very long time.
Oh, wow.
So had a chance to go out and meet up with her and spend a little bit of time catching up on things. She no longer lives in the Eastern North Carolina area either. So it was a little bit of a trip for myself. And then on the way back home, I decided to pop in on some other friends as well. So
Why? You are so social.
I try. I try.
But that's it.
She has
That's
been doing the rounds.
that's
I
the only
know, so.
thing pretty much you've been doing. Huh?
Well, you didn't ask where she lives now.
Oh, where does she live now, Steph?
So she now
Because you
lives
said
just.
Eastern Carolina.
Yeah, she doesn't live there anymore.
Oh.
So I had to travel to her.
Yeah.
She actually lives just outside of Zurich, Switzerland,
Oh,
Ooh.
way across the pond.
across the pond. So
Mhm.
Thursday night, I actually got on a plane.
you
Actually,
do.
not the original one I was supposed to be on because my flight got canceled. I'm not sure why, but I suspect it was a mechanical issue because it was relatively close to time of departure. But fortunately, there was a later flight, so I actually went to from Charlotte to Heathrow, and then I got off the plane and took the train across town, the tube, over to London City, and caught a flight there over to Zurich. So that was that was kind of fun. Had a couple of hours just to actually stopped at Borough Market, wandered around for a while, got some lunch, um, and then continued on to London City. And yeah, had a very nice evening catching up with her. And then the following day, she kind of showed me all around Zurich. Wish the weather had been a little bit nicer. It was kind of rainy, thunderstorms on and off, but all in all, a really lovely day. Had some nice Swiss chocolates and good
Ooh.
meals. And
And you bought a cuckoo clock.
no, but I did buy a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah. I
Which
hope
they
that you put that.
confiscated from you at security.
Nope, because it is small enough to travel safely in my luggage.
And so then you
Seriously-
got. Go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to say, serious question. What was it like going in and out of London City? Because that's quite an unusual airport.
Yeah. Well, it intrigued me because I booked the flight on points, and that was one of the options. So I'm like, well, I've done Heathrow a gazillion times. It'd be fun to make a little bit of a trip out of it and go see London City Airport. And it was nice. It's very quiet. It's small. No problems getting through security. I did get there, and because my original ticket had changed, because now I was taking a slightly later flight because I would have missed the original connection. For some reason, American Airlines did not release my ticket to British Airways, who they do the code share with. So I had to call American Airlines from the airport in London City because they couldn't figure out how to match my e-ticket number to what they could see or something like that. I'm still not sure exactly what they were talking about, but they understood. The lady I talked to in reservations understood. It took them like 10 minutes to transfer it all over, and got that sorted out. Had plenty of time still, and had a nice time kind of sitting upstairs at the in the departure area, drinking a beer, watching aircraft land and depart right on the
Co-
river.
It's
very
quite
nice.
a steep approach. It's an unusually steep approach. Aircraft have to be capable of doing a 5 and a bit degree
Yeah,
glide
it's.
angle.
I think Pip has talked about it quite a few times on his show. I forget exactly what
Pip
it
has
is.
a
I don't
show?
know if it. I think so.
Oh.
Well,
Yeah.
occasionally.
Plane safety podcast, something or other.
Oh yeah.
So, I didn't actually land back there. I actually returned to Heathrow on the return trip. So,
Oh, okay. So then you went from there and then back to
Yes, back to
the
Heathrow.
States. And
well,
That was your
I
trip.
mean, I kind of spent a little bit of time in the UK on Sunday.
Oh,
Also,
huh. So what was going on there?
well, I heard some friends of mine were having a little meetup, so I decided to crash it.
Oh
I
yeah,
was
we've been.
uninvited and unannounced. So,
Wow. Yeah. So that was a surprise. The funny thing is, on Friday, I think it was Friday, dispatcher Tom
oh yeah, this is funny.
sends me this just out of the blue, and let me see, what time was this? I'm trying to scroll backwards in time, and he said, "Oh shoot, way back in time." Apparently, I had quite a conversation with him. And a lot of it is Formula One stuff, so I have to go back through that. And here, well, I'll have to cut all this out. I'll fix it in post.
Uh-huh.
Really, I will. Darn it.
Well, I know kind of the gist of it.
Yeah,
We
but
can
it's
just
funny to
recap.
read it.
Okay, fine. I'll let you find it.
Okay. Oh, I can't find it.
I think you
Well,
sent it. You sent it
yeah.
to me.
Yeah. I think I did. I did a screen capture of it and
Yeah.
everything. Anyway, so I get this out of the blue from dispatcher Tom. He goes, "Hey Jeff, is Steph in London?" I think he said, and I said, "I don't think so," but I said, with Dr. Steph, you never know. And he goes, "Oh," he said, the reason why I ask is that Jeff, the American Airlines pilot that we met, that was with Tom for the
Hops in the Hangar.
Hops in the Hangar, thank you, event at the Delta Museum, said that he thought that you were on his flight from Charlotte to Heathrow." And I said, well, I don't think so. that was pretty much the end of the and then when I saw the pictures with Steph showing up at Duxford and surprising everybody, and I texted him back and I said, well, you guess what? That actually, I think it was Steph, because I asked Steph, I said, "Were you on the flight on that night from Charlotte to Heathrow?" And she said, "Yep." Well,
Yep.
okay. He wasn't losing his mind.
No, he was not. I'm not sure when he saw me or if he was, because all I remember is getting on the plane, being dead tired, and then I passed out. Would have been
Yeah.
a good opportunity, Jeff, if you're listening, to have taken some very unflattering pictures of me sleeping on an airplane. So,
Yeah, I forgot. Let's see. Oh, okay. Here, I finally found it. Now that we're finished with this.
of course.
Yeah. He said, "Yeah, my buddy Jeff, the AA pilot, who was at Hops in the Hangar, thought she was on a Charlotte to Heathrow last night." And anyway, so that was interesting. And as I said, I texted him back later next day, I think, and said, "Yeah, he's not losing his mind. It was Steph."
No.
Okay. Anyway,
I might be losing my mind, though. We're not entirely sure about that yet.
but that was like early on. That was like a full day before I think I was having the conversation with Tom, that you showed up to the actually 2 days. I think it was on the 10th that I was having this.
Yeah, because that flight
conversation.
was Thursday night to Friday.
Yeah.
So, 'cause
So,
I was in Surrey
yeah.
a little bit. But anyway, so I landed at Heathrow. We'll just segue into all this Sunday morning around 8 a.m. And I actually picked up Fabian because I had agreed to give him a ride to Duxford. And we went over to the rental car facility, got in the rental car. Let's see if I can remember what roads we took. We took the M25 to the M11. Does that sound right, Nick? Perhaps?
Yeah.
You know how-
I don't know.
Do you live there?
The M part sounds
I
familiar.
flew. I
fair
fly
enough.
over all
We'll
this
get to
stuff.
your-
I don't drive around there. Good Lord, horrible
Right,
place.
all right.
You don't want to drive.
It really
around.
so on a Sunday morning though, it's not a bad drive at all. It was fine.
Nope.
Took us just over an hour, like an hour and 15, and got there, parked, and most people were already there, kind of just gathered in the parking lot, waiting on, I believe, just waiting on Carlos to show up for some reason, so that they could all go in with their group discount. And so we said hello to all of them. Matt seemed very surprised to see me there, and
Did he
I actually left
did he
them
wet
in the-
himself or something?
No, he was just very his usual
Animated.
self. Yes, in a good way. It was very sweet. And then we did get to see both. Well, I can let Nick go forward with his part here because I'm not sure how much of this you cover in the meetup audio.
Good point. I don't know. What do you want?
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, did you want me to play the meetup audio? Is that
I
what
just
you're
don't want
trying-
to. I just don't want to say everything and have it all
Okay.
rehashed on the,
Well, then,
on the audio. So let's do that, and then we can fill in the gaps after that. How about?
That's what we'll do right
Can
now.
I just interject for a second?
Sure.
James Honor is in the chat room, who flies in and out of London City, and would like me to make you all aware it was a 5.5 degree glide slope, just to bring us back to 50% accuracy.
Oh, excellent. Perfect. Okay. So now, without further ado, let me play the Duxford meetup audio.
Hear that noise, Jeff? That's the sound of freedom. That is a Spitfire. And I'm here at Duxford at the museum, and it's the fabulous PT UK Plane Safety Podcast and APG Hangers On meetup, and you'll never guess who is here.
He would stick a microphone in my face right after I took a huge bite out of my B-52 burger. But hi, it's Dr. Steph.
Dr. Steph she just blew me away, if you pardon the expression, because
Family show, ladies and gentlemen.
Family show.
because she just completely unexpectedly appeared at Duxford. I just had the most fabulous flight in with young Pipperoonie, who is momentarily disappeared. Young Pipperoonie, thank you very much indeed for flying me in today.
Oh, it was my pleasure. You did most of the flying, so it was rather easy for me.
Well, you're a great instructor. You did gasp a little bit as I pulled the power off.
Yeah, a typical A340 landing there from Nick. He chopped the power and flared at about 100 feet. So he came crashing down onto the runway. But it's all right. I think we can use the aeroplane again.
The tyres look a bit flat now.
Yeah, and the undercarriage has come up through the wing, but that'll buff out.
Yeah, well, we put the fire out. That's the best bit. Anyway, thank you very much indeed. It was a lovely flight.
That was my pleasure.
Brilliant. Okay, I'm just going to do the quick rounds. Here, of course, is Carlos, who's one of the main instigators.
Hello, Captain Nick. How are you?
Well, I wish I could say it was brilliant. I'm good enough. Thank you very much indeed.
I'm so impressed with the turnout. I never expected we'd get quite so many people turn out today. And obviously, the world famous Dr. Steph has joined us as well, which is fantastic.
I know. I'm gobsmacked. I'm still gobsmacked. Thank you very much indeed. Great organisation, Matt. Lovely to see you.
And you, sir.
Isn't it brilliant? All these folks.
I know. I can't believe it. I mean, it was a lot. I had to do a lot of praying, but I'm delighted to say that the weather has turned out all right. So
I didn't know you were religious.
It depends on if I've got a reason to be. I can.
We'll have to call you Pastor Matt now.
Well, there was two things apparently when I was growing up that I wanted to be. One was indeed a vicar, the other was a bus driver. So one of the two is not bad going.
No, it's not. Do you do a lot of praying while you're driving your bus?
I don't, but my passengers usually do.
I love it. Anyway, we can't make this too long because there's a lot of people to get round here. And I'm just going to, guys, I'm Nick from the APG, just doing a quickie here. We can't speak to everybody at length, but I'd love just to hear your names and a quick hello to the APG.
Hi Nick, it's Neil. Good to see you again. Big shame you couldn't do your last flight. I think we were all looking for.
That's very kind of you. Thanks.
I'm sure you'll enjoy putting your feet up.
I will. Thanks.
Hi, it's Rob from Ealing. Fabulous day here at Duxford, and a big shout out to the APG crew.
Thank you very much, Rob.
And it's Chris from Lincoln in the UK, and I've just taken a bite of my sandwich, so I'm going to carry on chewing that now and enjoy the rest of this lovely Sunday afternoon.
I'm trying to catch everyone with a mouthful.
Hi, it's Julie from Lincoln. Having a fabulous day here.
Hi, this is Steve. I'm an Englishman living in Norway, just over for the weekend.
All the way from Norway, just for the meetup?
Pretty much, yeah.
Brilliant. Where did you fly into?
Heathrow. Good, yeah. It's British Airways from Oslo. It's okay.
Ooh, British Airways. You'll be Nev's best friend. Quick hello, folks.
I'm Dave. I'm Neville's son.
No, I was going to say you don't really look alike, do you?
One more handsome.
You are, considerably.
One of many children that I don't know about, but here we are. And isn't the weather great? Absolutely superb today, isn't it?
Yeah, we're typical English people, aren't we? All talking about the weather.
Yeah, I would. And no, great turnout, absolutely enormous turnout with some unexpected special guests.
I know, and I'm still feeling just a bit shocked about that. Adam.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
I'm doing very well indeed. How's the lecture circuit?
The lecture circuit is doing very well, thanks to your help. Me amongst the Royal Aeronautical Society.
And looking forward to a good day here?
Very much so, and compliments on the landing.
Oh, thank you very much. Unnecessary.
Hello, everyone. It's Dan Hannington here. Having a great day so far. The weather's lovely.
Hi, Jonathan Warner.
How did you get here?
With Al.
With Al, you trusted Al?
I did.
Who did the flying?
We both did. I had to go as well.
What, you were struggling at the controls?
I had to take over. He was struggling.
Yeah, well, you're a big muscly man, so I expect you won. Fabian.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. Got a ride with Steftom this morning and I had a good flight here. It's great weather here. It's nice being here with all these nice folks.
It is great, isn't it? I can't believe how far people have come just to go and see PT UK. Oh, sorry, I mean the APG meetup. Brilliant. Hi there, Ruben.
Hi, Nick. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. And thank you very much indeed for loaning me those books. You must do it again sometime because I still haven't read them.
No problem.
Thanks very much.
Hi, Nick.
How's things?
Oh, not bad. Yeah, perfect weather.
Just for our listeners, just say your name again.
Richard Adams.
From the Isle of Wight. Isle of Wiget, as we all like to say. You flying?
I didn't today, no, I drove. My wife's around somewhere and she doesn't not that keen on my flying yet. She's got off to see Concorde.
Well, okay. Well, I don't blame her. All I can say. Hi, I'm Nick, and you are?
I'm Phil, Carl's father. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, I'm from the APG show, and we just wanted to say hello to everyone and have a quick, mention of the show, perhaps.
Yeah. It's well, I couldn't pick a better day for it today. It's been absolutely fantastic weather.
Another fine Englishman talking about the weather. Hi, guys.
Hi, Captain Nick. Hi, Captain Nick.
Well, I'm just doing quick for the APG. Your names, please.
My name's Lee Hall. And I'm Lisa Hall.
Brilliant.
They're married.
Really? They look like brother and sister.
You were at the wedding, Matt. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, you were.
DJ.
Yes.
You DJ'd the wedding.
Wedding, yeah.
Hope you had a great day. Hi, I'm Nick, and you are?
Matt from the A320 podcast.
Ah, brilliant. Lovely to meet you. I shake your hand, but I've got my hands full. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you.
And looking forward to a good day?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. My daughters, this is Ruby.
Hi.
And
this is Holly.
Hi, Holly.
Hello.
that juice box has bones in. And here's someone with a big frothy coffee.
Yeah, I'm Julian. I'm unfortunate enough to work with Matt driving coaches and occasionally tune into their show. So
Oh, you're a listener, and you don't listen to his show, though, do you? Not PT UK.
occasionally. That's when I'm not getting moaned at by my other half because she doesn't like it when I'm listening to it because she just calls it noise. So
To be fair, it is. Anyway, lovely to see you.
Hello, I'm John Pickard and I've come from Lichfield and I listen to APG and also Plain Talking UK.
Yeah, well, we'll forget that segment. Lovely to see you. Hello, youngster. No, you're Pip's son, aren't you? Your name is?
Isaac.
Hi, Isaac. Did you enjoy the flight?
Yeah, it was good.
Was my flying as good as your flying?
Oh, actually, no idea.
No idea. I was a big thinks bubble there. Obviously, there's not a lot to tell between the two. Isaac flew, Pip's son. Isaac flew the aircraft all the way over from where did you take off from?
To Weston.
Excellent. And he flew it all the way over to White Waltham. So I think he's probably got more experience than me, quite honestly. Hello, here's a couple of lovely people.
Hello. I'm Javed.
Hi, Javed. And have you come here for the APG or the PT UK?
No, I listen to all three podcasts. Excellent. Big fan.
Lovely to hear it. Hello, gorgeous.
Hello, Captain Nick. Hello.
And how are you? And have you bought underpants for everyone? Thank you very much indeed.
Goes on. Yeah, it's lovely to see you, Nick. And I've come from Nottingham, and I kind of found out about this meetup kind of last minute, really. And so it's fantastic to be with you all again. Yeah.
It is great fun, isn't it? Excuse me for whipping around everybody. Quick hello for the APG.
Hello,
And you are?
Isabel.
Isabel necessary on a bicycle?
It is in Oxford.
It is. And you've probably heard that joke so many times. I do apologise.
Hi, Chris Griggs here at my first meetup, having flown in from Wellesbourne today. Lovely day for it and lovely to meet everyone.
You flew in?
I did, yes.
Oh, in what machine?
PA-28.
Brilliant. I bet your landing was better than mine.
Well, I didn't see yours, so we'll leave the others to judge.
Oh, well, that is so good of you. Hi there.
Hello.
You are?
I'm Richard.
Richard, lovely to see you. And a quick word for the APG, perhaps?
Well, it's nice to meet all the people behind the voices. Been listening for a few years, and I've drove down from Derby, about 2-hour drive to be here today. Lovely day.
That's a fair drive, isn't it? I hope you have a good day. Oh well, I'll miss this bloke out. I'm only joking. Hi, Al.
Good morning to you. How are you doing?
I'm hanging on in there. All this bending down's a bit of a problem.
Do you need your truss adjusting?
Yeah, I do, but I'm hoping Steph will do that for me.
Well, I've got the high heels in the back of the aeroplane because you left them at my house last time.
Yeah, that's what been half the problem, I think, wearing high heels at my age.
Eventually, these things do catch up with us, don't they?
Do. Good flight in?
Yeah, splendid, actually. We arrived on time. What was your excuse?
Pip.
Well, there we go.
Hello, Bill.
Hello, Nick. Hello, Apg crew. It's Philip Davis from Torquay. Great to be here with everybody. Lucky to have flown in today with Al in his Piper Arrow, which was an amazing trip. So don't get to fly very often, so that was fantastic. So,
brilliant.
Otherwise, it would have been a 4.5-hour drive. So,
and Al managed to find the land button.
Yeah, I think
he's good, isn't he? He's good. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Dave W. here. Great to see so many people at another meetup. We're creating a bit of a monster here with all these communities now, but it's great to see young and old all together and people meeting for the first time and getting on so well together. Really good day. Lovely weather too.
What a great way to end this little segment. Okay, Jeff, thank you very much indeed. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Nick. What a great audio. So many people. That's amazing.
I'm jealous. I'm
Yeah,
jealous,
it
and I know
certainly
how
was.
crazy Dr. Steph is. That's absolutely nuts. I cannot believe you just got on an airplane for a weekend, basically.
Oh, it's not the first time I've done that, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun. Highly recommend.
Yeah, it was a really good meetup, as you can tell. There were lots of fine people. It was great
Honestly,
weather.
Close to 30 at some point, 35,
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
A lot of people.
So, there were, our podcast was there and well represented. PT UK and Pilot Pit with Plane Safety podcast. They were the main organizers, but I think we did a good job of taking it over. What do you reckon, Steph?
Oh, I think so. I saw lots of APG shirts there.
Yeah, thank you for representing.
Woohoo! Absolutely, but I've got a few thank yous because I met Neil Lanwan there, who is a friend of Matt and Carlos's, and he looks after the Super Guppy up there. They mentioned it on their podcast, and he was very kind and gave me a bottle of Welsh whiskey. And I've never drunk Welsh whiskey before, so that's going to be great. Steph's dad, Mike, gave Steph a t-shirt to bring across for me because he knows I'm a Douglas Adams fan, and it's a brilliant t-shirt, Life, the Universe and everything, and the number 42 on it. I would be wearing it, but I've worn it already so much I've had to put it in the washing.
No worries at all.
And please thank him for me.
Absolutely, will do.
Steph. And Jilly says, thank you very much indeed also for the craft stuff you brought over that came via a tortuous route all the way from Los Angeles via you and then across to the UK. Very kind of you.
Yes, glad to pass that along finally.
Now, Adam gave me, thank you very much. Adam gave me a lovely gift. This is Adam Spink. He gave me a lovely gift, which I'm looking at it now, and it's a procedures notice for their traffic controllers at Heathrow Airport, and it's titled "Withdrawal of Anderson Procedure," and it mentions things like now that Captain Anderson will be retiring from Virgin Atlantic, they're going to update their manuals because there apparently were a number of special procedures they put in force whenever I arrived at the airport, which included insisting that the ATIS was put out every 5 minutes. It's now going to go back to its normal routine of every 90 minutes. Clearance delivery for departing flights shall add 5 minutes delay without explanation. Yeah, and this is hilarious. I've got a framed copy. You see that frame on me behind me on the wall?
Yeah, very nice.
That is the framed one. I've got one.
I can't wait to read that.
I know.
It's very, very clever.
There's also things about the reasons why I was always had to give way to British Airways. They always made sure that they had a British Airways flight to put ahead of me, and I made me give way. There's all of the reasons for all my delays. That was apparently a special procedure they had in for me that they won't need to use anymore. Anyway, it's a hilarious document.
Did they sometimes use like an empty airplane with just like a single air crew just to pull in front of you? Follow that airplane right there.
Exactly right. Absolutely. Yeah, I know. And it's a complete document and it's fabulous, all very formal and all correctly produced by Adam Spink at Co2 Ops. So that's hilarious. Thank you very much indeed for that, Adam. He also gave me, on top of that picture, you may not be able to see it, is a little yellow strip. Now, most air traffickers use a strip to make for aircraft departures with the basic details written on. It's the old-fashioned way of them moving aircraft around from controller to controller and having the details. Nowadays they do it electronically, so these strips are moving into history. And he gave me the designator strip for runway 09 left at Heathrow, which is obviously it's a very historic piece and will no longer be used because they've gone all over to electronic ones. And underneath that runway strip, they would put the aircraft that had been cleared onto the runway. So that's that designated runway. That's ever so kind of him, because I suspect they're, with all the people that like to keep mementos when that system moves out, they'll be pinched by everyone. And for Adam to give one to me, I was very pleased. Thank you very much. Of course, Carlos, Matt, Neville, and Pip and Al did a lot of the organization. Pip was incredibly kind. He flew down to White Waltham, which is about an hour's drive for me, and then flew myself and Adam in and out of Duxford. Brilliant. And as you heard, he let me do a bit of flying, which was very kind of him, and I think very reckless. So that was that was sort of Duxford, and it was a brilliant day. Really enjoyed it, particularly getting to see a Sunderland that my father flew in the war, and getting to talk to the boys about the Phantom. There are 2 Phantoms there, a British one and an American one. So that was brilliant. And I've also had a few busy things, because I mentioned last week that I would be on Soaring the Sky podcast with Chuck Fulton. So I've finished that now. And if you want to hear me tell my history in aviation yet again, there are so many versions out there. You'll find another one on soaringthesky.com. And also,
is there any consistency to any of the other stories, or do you just
sadly they're boringly similar?
Oh, okay.
So if you've heard one, don't bother, because they're all the same. But anyway, I wanted to thank Chuck, and also the Every Little Thing podcast, which turned out to be a hoot and a roar, chatting to Flora and talking airplanes with her. And I think Sandy was the other pilot who was on, a lady pilot from America. So that was great fun. Thoroughly
Nick,
enjoyed
when
it.
did
It's
you
been
start
interesting.
drinking
Life of leisure is really.
Sorry.
When did I start drinking today? Was that an actual question?
What is going on here? All of a sudden, Siri is doing strange things. Apparently, Siri thought I wanted to play some video from earlier. Okay. Wow.
I mean, why
Brilliant.
wouldn't you?
But that's a good cue for me to stop talking.
All right. Let me make sure everything is still the way it's supposed to be. Looks like everything's still recording. That was odd.
While you're checking all that, I'll just say it was a wonderful day at Duxford on Sunday. I'm so glad I was able to make it. My apologies for sneaking in a little bit, but thanks to Pip and Al for putting that together. What?
What is going on?
I don't know.
That's not me. I'm muted.
I keep hearing
No,
my
it's
voice literally has stopped.
You have something playing in the background.
Yeah. So Siri
Yeah, where
keeps
I do
getting
my-
activated on my computer. Stop it. What is going on? I never use Siri on my computer.
Nothing to do with me. This is all.
Oh, and Nick, would you please be quiet?
I'm doing my best.
What is going on?
I'm just going to leave my mic open
This is
so you can hear
crazy.
some banging in the
Yeah.
background too while we're at it.
Yeah.
Siri is ruining my.
Siri, stop it. Die.
It's kind of mean.
Okay.
Your
So
spawn's just going to say you're mean, Jeff.
Siri can't hear me, but it keeps getting activated. What is it that what is being
Gremlins.
pressed to cause that to happen? There's nothing touching a keyboard.
Siri has taken on a life of her own. She'll be in charge of your computer. From here
She's
on
in
forward.
charge of the show now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to leave this little, every time I have this little dialog box that says Siri audio problem. Siri was unable to hear you. Please check that your microphone is connected and selected in sound preferences. So I'm just going to leave, every time I delete that little box, that dialog box, it resets and then comes back again. So I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm just going to leave that dialog box there.
Sounds sensible.
Whatever you say, Jeff.
I just don't know why all of a sudden it's decided to do this.
That's like when was that a while back when people's Alexa or Amazon units would just start cackling for no good reason, like laughing out of the blue.
That'd be a little spooky.
It's
I
a little
think.
creepy.
Yeah. Okay.
Now my
So
computer's
yeah,
gonna
which
be-
one of you? Oh, is it Nev? Nev, did you hack into the mainframe here at APG headquarters building?
Probably.
Probably.
Knowing that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that problem is resolved. So, yeah. So I wish that I'm sure Dana does as well, that we could have been over there as well for that great
Absolutely.
meetup. And very sad. I'm so sad that Nick, you couldn't come here to the States when you had planned this week. We were going to plan a huge retirement celebration and all that, but oh well. We'll have to postpone that until a couple months from now.
July.
Yeah, that's what Oshkosh is going to be for now.
Okay, so that's it, huh? Pretty much Nick's retirement celebration, not Oshkosh. We'll just call it something else.
We can call it Oshkosh if you like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to use
Well, it's
it
up
as
to you.
my retirement celebration.
Okay,
that's going to be it.
Roger. Very good. Anything else? That was a lot.
I think that was enough.
Was a lot.
Let's
plenty.
move on to the show.
But before we do that, I had a meetup too. It wasn't as great as that.
No, come on. Let's move on to the show.
Well, hey.
No. Fair play to all the meetups here.
The fine people in
You'd be
Houston.
cheating out the people in Houston if you don't.
They want to hear themselves on the show, right? Okay. We had a quick meetup at El Real, that Tex-Mex place that I had a meetup, I think about a year or so ago, maybe longer. And David Ogden kind of organized and picked me up from the hotel downtown and took me over there. We had a grand time. Let me play this. Hello, everybody. We're in Houston, Texas at El Real, Tex-Mex, or something like that. There's going to be somebody soon that's going to tell me exactly how to pronounce it. But I'm here with a bunch of great people, and we've just finished our wonderful Tex-Mex dinner, and I just wanted to get a little quick recording here so we can play it on the show and let you know what it's like to be on these meetups, which are just a lot of fun. So let's start with the guy that kind of basically organized this, David Ogden. And so here you go.
Well, thank you, Jeff. Appreciate you being so kind in that introduction. Welcome to the great state of Texas. We are so glad to have you aboard. And we always love when you come to Texas and be able to show you some Houston hospitality. And next time you come in or any of the APG crew, we are happy to host you once again. Thanks.
Hi, future pilot speaking. Thank you so much for having us on your show, and we're glad to have you in Texas. Jeff's daughter. I want to give out my name because you never know.
Okay, this is Paula's dad. My name is Jeff as well. Thank you, Captain Jeff, for coming out to visit us here in Houston. We're glad to have you, and we've had a wonderful time here tonight. And just want to say, hey, a shout out to all the Airline Pilot Guy listeners. Thanks a lot. Look forward to more events like this.
Hey, Jeff. My name is Chris Page, and first time to meet everybody. It's been a great evening to kind of fellowship with other pilots, and it's just good stuff. Can't wait to hear some of the podcasts and get into this community. So good stuff.
And what Chris didn't tell you is that I drug him along, and he is a new guide. So hopefully he will be listening to the podcast from now on. Hopefully we got one more listener out of this. That's a part of the side gig. This is Scott, by the way, local motorcycle mechanic and private pilot, and was really happy to be able to be here. I missed the last meetup that we had here in Houston because I was trying to run a motorcycle shop, but trying to make up for it this time. So it's great to have you, and it's nice to be able to shake your hand and meet the guy behind the mustache in person. Back to you.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, too bad you couldn't make it last time, but, understand. You have to have priorities. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, he has got a nice mustache and beard as well. And so great hearing all these great stories, meeting Chris, potentially new community member, and he's got all kinds of great stories that we've been listening to tonight. Jeff as well. Yeah, feedback at airlinepilotguy.com. So everybody seems to have just a wonderful background and story, and it's so nice meeting everybody in person. That's really what makes this whole thing very special to me and the rest of the crew. So with that, and if you're listening to this and you're heading out to Oshkosh, please look for the APG RV, and that'll be APG headquarters at Oshkosh, and we're going to have a bunch of meetups there. So looking forward to that as well. So next time I'm in town, I look forward to something. Apparently there was some kind of an error with my recorder. at that
You'll
point.
figure it out.
Yeah,
You'll be back in Houston at some point, and you'll look forward to
we'll finish
doing
that
it all
record.
over again at the El Real.
Exactly what I was going to say. I think I actually said that.
The
word
little
for
red
word.
button. You press the little red
Yeah,
button.
I think I accidentally hit the red button. That was a nice steady red light, and I looked down and it was flashing, and it said something kind of an error, and I went, huh.
Oops.
So I started playing it a little bit just to make sure that I got anything, and I did. I heard the beginning of that, so I thought all was well until today when I was setting up for the show, and I went, I guess I did screw that up a little bit. Oh well, it happens. And anyway, had a great time. It was nice meeting up with everybody at the El Real Tex-Mex restaurant in what do they call that area? Montrose, I think. Really cool part of town in Houston, and look forward to doing it again. And I think several of those folks are going to be at Oshkosh, so we'll get to see them again as well.
Awesome.
And before we move on to the Java Jive, just a couple of things that I have in the notes here that I wanted to mention. One was something that happened to me in Atlanta the other day, coming in from Houston. We were flight 1693, and we had landed on runway 8 left, and we were told to hold short of 8 right, the inboard that we're using for takeoffs at taxiway Dixie, or Delta for everybody else. And we got clearance to cross, and then we can pick up from here the Atlanta ground frequency.
Boutique 44 Dixie, short golf.
Boutique 44 Atlanta, looks like you're on Dixie there. Hold on. Boutique 44, runway 8 right, taxi via straight ahead on Dixie, and left turn on Echo.
Okay.
8 right, straight ahead Dixie, left on Echo for 8 right, Boutique 844, thanks.
Okay, we're scratching our heads a little bit because we are like face to face with them, and he has just instructed that airplane, a Pilatus, to taxi basically through our airplane and then turn left on a taxiway we just passed. And I'm going, how's this going to work? And they were really starting to move fast. They had their lights on, and they were moving. And then
Was it dark?
No, it was
broad daylight.
It was broad daylight. Yeah.
Okay.
So then I think so. Right now, I'm kind of sensing that the ground controller for some reason is distracted. But so I think, I think he pretty quickly catches it.
Boutique 44, actually moving pretty fast. You need to also give way to the MD-80 when you join Foxtrot.
Give way to the MD-80 on Foxtrot, Boutique 44.
You can see the Pilatus nose strut really compress, like they were booking, and then I don't know where he thought he was going because we were there, and then you could tell that they were really coming to a stop pretty quickly.
Delta 1693, join Fox the ramp.
Actual ramp, Delta 1693.
That was my first officer.
All right, Tug 93 north for Delta North.
That's a tug.
9, turn left on to, actually,
dragging
gonna have to
airplane.
make it a right on Echo.
Towing an
Short
airplane.
runway 8 right at Charlie.
All right, Echo short 8 right at Charlie, Tug 9.
Boutique 44, change the plan now again. Make the left turn on Foxtrot behind that MD-88. Go Foxtrot Hotel.
Left behind on Foxtrot Hotel behind MD-88, Boutique 44.
We got it all sorted out now.
Ground Delta 1220, 1 north for Tango.
You want to say something?
Did you have your cloaking device on again, Jeff?
I might have. Yeah, I forgot to switch.
I think the controller just wanted to see a good game of chicken.
Yeah, maybe. I
Who's
don't know,
gonna
but it got my attention. That's for sure. I'm going, huh? How's this going to work? That's not going to work. Okay, so maybe he didn't realize that we had actually gotten clearance to cross from tower, and maybe he wasn't expecting us to be in that spot. I don't know. But again, something was just like, something seems to be distracting him.
Yeah. I mean, it happens. We're all.
Stand by.
Oh, wait. Okay. Let me go back here.
44. On Foxtrot Hotel behind MD-88, Boutique 44. Ground Delta 1220, 1 north for Tango.
Stand by.
Ground Delta 1220, 1 north for Tango. Hello, ground, you there?
Yeah, I'm watching this go around. You can just stand by. All right, back to work. SkyWest, was it 3558?
Okay. I just thought that was really funny because so when all this is taking place, I could, as I mentioned, it seemed like he was distracted by something. And so apparently this Southwest 737 was in some kind of a situation where there was the spacing between the airplane ahead of him was decreasing enough. And so I apparently he was picking up on this from the tower controller, something else going on in the tower cab. And that's why he was a little distracted with giving people instructions, taxiing on the ground. And then I just thought it was really funny that, the guy calls for, the 1 North taxi. Usually you get an immediate response or you hear somebody else talking, whatever, but there's just like silence for like a long time. And that's when he made the same call again. Even after he said stand by, he said, 1220, 1 North taxi. And then again, even a longer period of silence. And at this time, as we were taxiing toward the ramp, you had a very nice view of the finals, and you could see the Southwest 737 in the midst of a go around. So that's what he was looking at, had his attention. And just like all of us out there, when we see something like that, we just want to stop everything and just watch it.
Like, hang on, squirrel.
Yeah. Okay. Back to work. I just love you. Back to work. So.
I mean, but really, did that have anything to do with his job at that moment?
No.
No, nothing.
Not really. Yeah. He put his priorities somewhere else, apparently.
True av geek priorities, however.
Yeah. I just thought even these tower controllers are av geeks. I love it. Okay. That was the point of that. Not to get him in any trouble. It was just, I thought it was funny. Okay. Nothing dangerous happened there. And so with all these meetups, if you want to join us at some point in the future, check out the airlinepilotguide.com/calendar page where we have the Apg Community Calendar. Also become an Apg Slacker. Hillel will tell us how to do that toward the end of the show. And you'll be advised of when we have meetups here and there and everywhere. And we'd love to see you at one of these in the future. And just quickly, we will be at Oshkosh, and we had a Apg Inner Circle meeting, a Apg crew meeting with our favorite t-shirt logo, Apg logo designer, Acme logo, Jim Mercado. And we've had a couple of meetings now, and we're making some good progress on our exclusive commemorative Apg shirt for Oshkosh. And we're not going to give any details about where we are in the design process because we want it to be a nice surprise when we finally get the final product. But we're pretty excited about it.
Yeah, it's looking good.
Absolutely.
Stunning.
All right. And with that, I think now, unless you guys want to do anything else, we can go ahead and move on to quickly the coffee fund.
I'm good.
All right, here we go.
Johnny, how much more coffee?
No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea.
I love the APG
Community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup. All right. We sing the Java Jive for the Coffee Fund, and we call those fine folks the Coffee Fund Cadre. Perhaps we should call it something different. Coffee Fund Club, perhaps. Or what do you call it, Nick? Coffee Bar Club or something like that? Anyway, they're the people that support the show financially. And you can do it too if you want by heading over to airlinepilotguide.com/coffee. And we have a couple different ways to do it. One is the Coffee Fund Classic Method. And since the last episode, we've had several contribute. Recurring payment from Jeff and Anissa Moeller. We had a very nice, generous donation from Captain Rick Bell, perhaps Major, I'm not sure, one of those. And Tony Stubbings also sent in a very nice, generous contribution. Elizabeth Piper, you may have heard of her. We call her Liz, our producer. I don't know why she did this, but thank you, Liz, for sending in a very, very, very generous donation toward our Coffee Fund escapades. And also a payment from, or a donation from Timothy Vaughn, another very nice donation. I'm noticing a lot of these one-off donations coming in, perhaps to help us to get ready for and to celebrate our great time to be had in Oshkosh. And so if you want to be part of that support, again, airlinepilotguide.com/coffee. Also, I should be playing some more music, right? Maybe I'll put that in post. We also have another way to contribute via the Coffee Fund, and that is to become a patron of the show via Patreon. And since the last show, we have a couple of new producers. We have Stephen Halland and Covey Menard, or Covey Menard. I'm not sure how you would pronounce that. Covey. Covey, I'd say. I don't know. And then we also have a new executive producer, and that is this gentleman's name. Nick, you mentioned him earlier at the meetup at Duxford. Neil Lanmorn.
Yeah, a very generous chap too. I'm going to try some of his whiskey in a moment.
Very
Thanks,
good.
Neil.
And also, you mentioned the A320 podcast. I believe Andy Wilson is one of the co-hosts of that. Well, I know that for sure. And he bumped up his contribution level by 10 times 10. And he is now in the very, I know. I sent him an email, said, maybe you mistakenly did this because he is in the top tier of the Coffee Fund.
What a gentleman. What a gentleman.
Something
Thank
from
you.
us.
Andy, talk to me in case you accidentally did that. Okay. Anyway, regardless, he's been supporting us financially as well. So check out their fine podcast, the A320 podcast, especially if you're an Airbus pilot. You could probably learn something. And yeah, that is it. So again, if you want to become part of the Coffee Fund Club, head over to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. You'll be glad you did. All right. Now we'll shift over to, no, not again. I was moving it out of the way and it actually activated. Since we're kind of running. Yeah.
Oddly enough, my Siri just tried to do stuff too, and I don't even have Siri turned on.
I don't either.
I don't. Nev,
Wow.
stop it, Nev.
Yeah, Nev, what are you doing to our computers? I see. He sent me a video earlier. It probably has some kind of malware in it.
Oh, shouldn't have opened that.
We're on to you.
Well, she keeps talking to me, and I don't even have Siri on my computer. I don't understand that.
Mine's being quiet.
Lucky man.
That's because I have everything muted.
My trackpad battery is very low. Oh, okay. Great. Just one more thing to add. Okay.
Stand by for news.
But I did want to add one more thing. Now that I'm looking at my notes. I don't know if you guys have listened to this guy's. Hang on a second. Picking up a lot of fan noise or something in the background.
I can hear it too.
Someone breaking in?
Why is it making so much noise?
It gets better when you do that.
Oh, you know what? It wasn't fan noise. It was somebody using the restroom above the flushing.
I thought it might be the wind and the palm trees.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, good point, Nick. somebody was making noise behind me, behind that palm tree right there.
Yep.
Okay, it was just bugging me. I don't know if you've had a chance to check out this guy's YouTube channel. I think we've mentioned him on at least once or twice on earlier episodes. The guy's name is Juan Brown. He has a YouTube channel, maybe a channel as well, but I don't know what that is, called Blancalerio, I think. Let me see. Let me spell it for you. Let's see. Blancolirio, Blancalerio. And he is a former Air Force guy like myself, a U.S. Air Force guy. And he also was, I believe, a T-37 instructor pilot, and he also flew C-141. So very similar kind of background that I had. And he's now presently an American Airlines pilot. I believe he says that. And well, he's a major a pilot for a major legacy air carrier here in the United States. I believe he's a 777 co-pilot. And he puts out these videos on a variety of subjects, but lately mostly aviation related. And he's got some, he's had put out some really informative things regarding the 737 MAX accidents and issues regarding the MCAS. And also in this latest one that he just put out, I believe yesterday, a little bit of information, behind the scenes information about the investigation of the Prime Air 767 crash, some of the things that are being speculated out there. So I find it really interesting, and you know, he does a good job of getting really good sources of for his information. So if you haven't already checked it out, please do. I've subscribed to his YouTube channel, and always look forward to hearing what he has to say about these things. So have you guys ever checked him out or heard anything from him?
No, I know you've mentioned him before, but I have not had
Yeah.
a chance to check out his videos.
Yeah.
No, neither have I.
Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in there because I think it's a really good source for those of us out in the world that are interested in this sort of thing. All right. Now it's time for the news.
Stand by for news.
From the Associated Press, Anchorage, a team of federal investigators is expected to arrive in Alaska on Tuesday. Of course, we're recording this on Wednesday, so this was written, well, it says it was written yesterday. Anyway, to try to piece together what happened or what caused a deadly mid-air collision between two sightseeing planes. 4 people were killed after the planes carrying tourists from a cruise ship collided Monday near the southeastern Alaska town of Ketchikan, the Coast Guard said. 2 others were missing, according to Petty Officer John Paul Rios, a Coast Guard spokesman. An investigative team from the NTSB is expected to arrive in Ketchikan on Tuesday afternoon. Let's see. The float planes collided under unknown circumstances. The passengers were from the cruise ship Royal Princess and were on sightseeing flights, one of which was operated by a company called Takan. I don't know. Were you trying to say something, Nick?
Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff. My mic was on.
Oh, okay. And do we know how to pronounce that stuff? Takan?
No idea.
Air?
Taquan. Your
maybe?
guess is
Taquan. That sounds right. 11 people were inside Taquan Air's single-engine de Havilland Otter DHC-3 when it went down as it returned from Misty Fjords National Monument, which is part of the Tongass National Forest, the nation's largest. 10 people were taken to a hospital in Ketchikan. All patients were in fair or good condition, according to Marty West, a spokeswoman for Peace Health Ketchikan Medical Center. 3 people who died were among 5 people aboard the second plane, a single-engine de Havilland DHC-2 Beaver, according to Coast Guard Lieutenant Brian Dykins. It isn't clear which plane carried the 4th victim, whose body was recovered during a Monday night search. Not really a lot of information. The conditions at the time, I believe, were visual conditions, like an overcast, a high overcast that they were flying underneath, and clear below that, and they apparently collided with each other, and that's all we know. So 4 people dead, 2 people missing, I believe, is the latest that I've heard regarding this.
I'll tell you what, doing this little flight with Pip to Duxford and back reminded me, Jeff, is just how conditioned we get in airliners when you've got all this sophisticated equipment like ADS-B. You say you've got visual representation of everyone around you, you've got air traffic control looking after you, you've got your eyes as well. But when you're GA, it's just your eyes, just you. And it's, people sometimes have been called within a couple of miles, and it's really hard to see. And I really do feel sorry when you've got situations like this. And these folk, they're probably the only 2 aircraft around there, I don't know. But there are so many blind spots on an airplane. Sometimes you think, surprising there aren't more of these.
Yeah.
Just looking at the picture that's included with the article, they're showing with the injured passengers being transported to an ambulance, but they're on the water there. So I'm wondering if it happened somewhere near either taking off or landing, because that can be kind of congested and, a little bit of when you're landing on water, you're basically trying to figure out just being into the wind, and depending on how much space or area you have, you can be pretty focused on that at that moment. So I don't know if it was controlled at all. I don't know the area around Ketchikan, but
I don't know. Hopefully we'll learn more.
Well, Ketchikan, I've actually been there. It's very, very mountainous to the, I think it's to the east.
To the east, probably.
Yeah. To the east, yeah, because the water, it's on the west coast. So there are a lot of tours going in and around the fjords from Ketchikan. So I can see where that can be an issue.
Well, thoughts and prayers go out for the dead and the family and friends of the dead.
Absolutely.
Okay, item B. Corporate jet suggested Buffett's energy deal was in works day before it was announced. Now, I threw this in there, not really a big news item, but I thought it was interesting because we have a lot of folks that listen to our show who are expert aircraft spotters and aircraft trackers. I mean, they know all the tricks of the trade to be able to follow flights, even flights that don't want to be followed. And so I thought that this was kind of interesting. A corporate jet tracking service spotted a plane owned by Occidental Petroleum landing in Warren Buffett's hometown of Omaha. I'm sure that most people are familiar with Warren Buffett. He's a major investor and has, I don't know what, probably billions of dollars in investments in stocks and companies from all over the world, including
a small company, Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah, Berkshire Hathaway. You may have heard of it. So a plane owned by Occidental Petroleum was landing in Omaha, which is where Warren Buffett lives. They were guessing it meant that Buffett was getting into a major energy deal. Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway announced on Tuesday it would take a $10 billion preferred share stake in Occidental Petroleum, contingent on a deal for Anadarko Petroleum succeeding. And Occidental is in a bidding war with Chevron for the Permian Basin driller, whatever that means. Anyway, so it goes on a little bit more about the deal. But investors didn't need to be surprised. By the way, this is from, did I write it down? What article, what news source this is? No, I don't see it. It says, I know when it was published, but I don't know where it was from. Let me just double check one more thing here. CNBC, that's where this is sourced. But investors didn't need to be surprised. They could have made an educated guess the deal was coming, since this past weekend when a corporate jet tracker spotted the Occidental plane landing at Omaha. And then they talked about a little bit about how people can. So I guess a lot of people out there that aren't av geeks as we are don't realize that it's possible to track, in addition to the flights that we always love to track from our friends and loved ones on major airlines or not so major airlines, but it's possible to track corporate flights and also to track military flights. I just thought it was interesting that there's actually a company maybe more than one, that its sole existence and purpose is tracking corporate airplanes as to try to kind of spot deals that are in the making and make investment decisions based upon data that is publicly available. And it has not always been publicly available. I think it was back, not sure exactly what year, that the FAA was forced to release this information. I don't know exactly how that all transpired. But do you all know any of that detail? Well, there's a article here that I'm going to include in the show notes.
2011, I think, was the
2011
decision to open up records on private flights.
Okay. Now, a few years back, I was out there flying, and I'm always interested when I hear a call sign I've never heard before. And it was around the time that what was the company, Yahoo.com? You know, they .com. Weren't they the ones that did that little jingle or whatever? Probably have no idea what I'm talking about.
I know
Anyway,
what you're talking about. I can't remember who it was.
I just don't remember who it was. But anyway, I heard this call sign .com, and I'm thinking, oh, it's probably that company, that internet company that always does the .com. And then started bugging me a little bit more. I did a little bit more research and found out, no, .com is actually a dispatching service, a private service that people can subscribe to, and based on whatever level of service they want, they can register their corporate jet using .com's services, and their tracking data no longer has the identification or registration number, but they use a .com call sign. Now, I think that there are workarounds for that now. So even people that are trying to use the .com call sign can still be tracked. And I know that there are a couple of people right now listening to my words that are probably yelling at the whatever podcasting or podcast listening device it is that they're listening to us on, saying, yeah, this is how you do it. But just thought that was interesting that they knew years ago that it was important for all of these things going on that they didn't want the public to see, or their competitors to see. They wanted some privacy, but the only way they could do it is to kind of cloak themselves a little bit by using a .com call sign. But again, I think that now there are ways to get around that, so you can still figure out who these people are. But I thought that was kind of a clever service. And the dispatching service.com is still, I think it's a flight planning dispatching kind of a service.
They should just put their their corporate folks who make the deals on commercial airliners and fly with the public like the rest of us. They'd never know who was coming or going.
That is true.
Or Occidental Petroleum might well have just been sending some execs down to play golf. In which case, if you're investing on that kind of
yes,
exactly. If you're investing on that kind of a clue, you might just have lost a lot of money.
Yeah.
I guess that's part of the game, right? If you're going to be in stocks and investing that way.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all a gamble.
So I guess, so I hadn't thought of that. Maybe they fly airplanes around purposely trying to throw people off.
Yeah.
We're going to fly to Omaha, and they're going to assume that we're meeting up with Warren Buffett. But
well, you might be able to pay for your little airline by flying all your aircraft somewhere where you think will change the share price. You invest, fly your aircraft somewhere, cash in, and then go, well, that's just paid for that and a bunch of other flights. So
it's a good business model. I like it.
Yeah. We should start doing this, don't you reckon, guys?
Yeah. Need a retirement job, Nick?
Yeah,
there you go.
No, I don't. No, I'm a professional lawn bowler now.
Excellent.
Wait a minute. You have a robot that does that for you.
That's a lawn mower, not a lawn bowler.
Oh, a lawn bowler. I'm sorry. I heard mower for some reason. At the end of this, again, in the show notes, I have a little blurb about the company, .com and their services. And looking here, it says DCM call signs available for jet and turboprop flight plan filers only. It says there are two different types. There are two levels assigned: FAA blocked and trackable. If trackable, you'll be known, seen as flight plan on public flight tracking websites and not by your tail number or company name. And if you're a premium tracker, you can have a third call sign blocked at the FAA vendor level. So I guess there's still ways to get around being tracked out there. Interesting.
I think some people know how to track all of these aircraft.
Yeah,
no matter
I
what.
know a couple people that
Yeah.
could bust through all those.
Yeah, it's like anything IT computer related. There's ways around it. Really.
Anyway, I thought that was kind of
It is interesting though.
little
Very interesting.
Okay, and hopefully I didn't screw up too much of the information regarding
We'll get
all
feedback.
that.
Don't worry.
Oh yeah, again, we're holding to that 50% standard. Got a lot of margin either way.
Plus or minus 10.
Plus or minus 50.
Don't want to get too high. We might get a reputation.
I know. I don't want anybody to think we're a reliable news
Or
source.
actual news.
Excuse me. Cough button. Where's my cough button? Let's see. Oh, I should mention, I didn't mention in the intro that I was supposed to be in Philadelphia right now, and I'm at home. And I called in sick for my 3-day trip because I'm sick and got some kind of allergy thing going on over the weekend, and it kind of turned into a bronchial infection. And so my doctor told me not to go fly until about a week from when I saw him. So
sensible.
Yeah. Anywho, next one here is Tasman Cargo Boeing 757-200 at Auckland on February 5th, 2018. So this happened a while back. I guess this is the final report from the ATSB, the Australian Transportation Safety Board. The Boeing 757-200 freighter flying in DHL colors was flying from Auckland, New Zealand to Sydney. And they had 2 crew members climbing out of Auckland's runway 23 left when the crew reported a hydraulic problem, stopped the climb at 5,000 feet, and returned to Auckland for a safe landing on runway 23 left about 40 minutes after departure. The runway needed to be closed for about 50 minutes due to hydraulic fluid spilled from the aircraft that needed to be cleaned up. On July 23rd, 2018, it became known the Australian TSB had opened an investigation into the occurrence, rated an incident. The ATSB reported while climbing out of Auckland, the flight crew received a left hydraulic system warning. While working the related checklist, the right-hand hydraulic system also failed. The aircraft returned to Auckland for a safe landing. So I believe I have not flown this. Well, I know that I haven't flown the 757, but I believe that on that airplane, there are 2 primary hydraulic systems, right? Maybe somebody out there can help. But I think at least the ones that they left, the left and the right, are the main systems, and they do have some alternative systems. But it's a pretty serious emergency, what I'm getting down to here. And so they did all their checklists, and I guess there was some kind of a part in the when you lose a hydraulic system, usually there's some way of powering the other hydraulic system once you've determined that there's not a leak in the hydraulic system somewhere, where you can power with the existing hydraulic system. You can repower some of the components on the other, and apparently what do we call that, a PTO, power takeoff unit or something like that, pressure takeoff unit, transfer unit. Help me out. PTO, what does that stand for?
Acronyms are dangerous.
Pressure transfer. Okay, well, anyway, look it up. Google it. PTO. There are various names for these devices. And apparently there was a part in one of these, or this device on this airplane, that was bad, and it overheated. And that's why the other system ended up.
Power takeoff unit.
That's it. Thank you. Whoever gave us that information.
I Googled it.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Steph.
You're welcome.
That's, by the way, on the 320 series of Airbus, 319, 320, maybe the 321. I'm not sure.
It's a power transfer unit.
Yeah, they get a. You sometimes hear that barking dog sound, and that's what it is. It's the power takeoff unit, I think, or the
power transfer unit. Now I have doubts about what Airbus calls it. Nick, help.
They probably call it something different.
Nick.
We don't have it because we have more hydraulic systems than you can shake a stick at.
Okay, so the baby buses, the narrow body buses.
Well, I'm assuming that they have something different. We don't have
Power
this-
transfer
this-
unit is what you're referring to. Yes,
There you
it
go.
is the PTU on
PTU, power
the,
transfer unit.
Airbus 320.
Okay. Well, anyway, that
And actually, on my what flight was it? My flight from Zurich back to Heathrow this past weekend. Spent a lot of time listening to the power transfer unit on that particular A320, and the lady next to me had no idea what it was. So spent a little bit of time explaining it to her.
poor dogs.
I know. What's going on?
They must be hurting or something. They're not dogs, huh? They do sound like dogs, though.
But any single system that can bring down two hydraulic systems that are supposed to be independent does worry me a little bit.
Yeah, I think it was one of those things where they thought that there's no way that could ever happen. Oops.
Oops. I mean, it's just that the whole point of having independent hydraulic systems is that they don't bring each other down.
Right.
So,
Well, I mean, they still remain independent, though. It's not like there's any fluid transfer between the two. It's just that one is powering. Well, it's hard to explain on a 3-hour show.
well, you've got another 2 hours.
Well,
give it a go.
In other words, what I'm trying to say is I don't want to explain it. I probably can't explain it. That's actually the real reason.
I've decided that I'm just not going to explain.
I'm going to move on.
Fair
That's
enough.
enough. I don't know why I picked that to be in the news. Now that I'm thinking about it.
There's a wonderful Wikipedia article about it that you can read if you so choose.
Yes.
I'm
Was that
sure. Now, I
something
don't
had
know
in
what
the show notes?
annual backups the 7.5 has, but if I lost 2 hydraulic systems on my aircraft, I'd be it would no longer be a pan call, it would be a mayday call. I'd be getting very concerned.
Here's what happened, actually. The PTU, the power transfer unit pressure switch, was stuck in the open position and the associated pump running continuously without hydraulic fluid in the left hydraulic system. And so then they obviously overheated with no hydraulic liquid. And and then I guess the system just, to protect itself, shut itself down. Yeah, not a good thing.
Yeah, but on our aircraft, Jeff, not too big of a deal.
No, because that's one of the advantages of flying a dinosaur as we do.
Right,
Danny.
exactly correct.
Because there's hydraulic fluid or hydraulic systems. They're nice to have, but they're not critical like so many of the other jets out there.
Yep. I mean, we can still fly the aircraft. We can still stop the aircraft. We can still land the aircraft. We can still control the aircraft.
Yep.
So, not a bad deal for our airplane.
That's true.
Too bad it's going away.
Yeah, too bad. And I'll be on it until they kick me off, which it appears now will be in just a couple of years. We'll see.
Either way.
Is that your power transfer unit clanking?
That's
Jeff?
Dana's
That's
power
Dana's,
transfer
yes.
unit.
Oh, Dana's. Okay.
That's actually why I'm being so quiet today, because I really just don't want to get involved with all this background noise, and it's kind of distracting. So I hate to apologize to everybody, but I am kind of quiet.
No problems.
Okay, item D. Mom thanks airline and crew. Let's see. I'll just start reading this. A Texas mother is thanking a flight crew and passengers for helping to save her 11-month-old daughter when she experienced a mid-flight seizure last week. In an Instagram post, Mom Janae Flowers said her daughter, Nevea, N-E-V-A.
This is heaven. It's a name that is heaven spelled backwards.
Okay, so how would you
Nevea.
pronounce that?
I think typically it's Nevea. It's very
Nevea?
common here in the South, but I think Nevea.
Never
Or at
heard
least
of it.
I've seen it a couple times in North Carolina.
Weird.
Mhm.
Okay.
Anyway.
Anyway, she suddenly experienced a febrile seizure. Is that the way you pronounce it?
Febrile related to fever.
Okay.
Common in children.
During their American Airlines flight from Tampa to Dallas on April 25th. I think, Steph, since this is kind of medically oriented, you should take over at this point.
I would be delighted to.
Okay.
In an Instagram post, mom Janae Flowers said her daughter Nevaeh suddenly experienced a febrile seizure during their American Airlines flight from Tampa to Dallas on April 25th. A febrile seizure is typically triggered by fever and causes a child to lose consciousness while their arms and legs shake uncontrollably, according to the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke. With nearly 10 minutes left until the plane was to touch down in Dallas, American Airlines crew and passengers rushed to mitigate Nevaeh's temperature as she struggled to breathe. I was traveling alone with Nevaeh and did not have a clue what to do but to cry out for help, Flowers wrote in her Instagram post. 2 people immediately came to aid my baby and found that she was burning up. They took her onesie off and she was running a serious fever. Her toes were blue and she could barely breathe. They called out for any doctors on the plane, and about 3 to 4 additional people came running to help also. The group of strangers worked together, gathering life-saving equipment and making calls to ensure emergency personnel were ready to jump in as soon as the plane arrived at the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. All of these people worked diligently to cool my baby down while she was having a seizure. One man went to the front of the plane to ensure that EMS was at the gate as soon as we landed, Flowers said in her post. Another man got an oxygen tank and administered it. Another man was taking her pulse. As soon as our plane landed, we all rushed to the front of the plane while they grabbed all of my belongings. As one man carried Nevaeh, another man thumped her foot repeatedly to make her cry, while the men carried the baby off of the plane and into the hands of the EMS crew. Flowers sang a calming tune to her baby. I sang "You Are My Sunshine" and prayed like I have never prayed before. It seemed to last forever. Baby Nevaeh was taken to the emergency room at Baylor Medical Center, where she eventually recovered. She's doing well now, but on that flight, the scariest moment of my life unfolded before my eyes, Flowers recalled on Instagram. My family and I are beyond grateful for all of the care and treatment given to our baby. I am so thankful to God that He put the right people in the right place at the right time. God kept us and worked through those angels who cared for Nevaeh. In a statement, American Airlines thanked its team members and passengers for coming to the infant's aid. We are grateful that Nevaeh is doing better and wish her and her family the best, the company spokesperson said in a statement to People. This medical emergency last week highlights the tremendous care and professionalism of Americans' team members, and specifically in this situation, our flight attendants and DFW team. They added, we are proud of our colleagues and grateful to them and our customers who stepped up to help a family in need for their quick actions. Flowers released another video on Tuesday saying Nevaeh is a happy baby and doing well, and the family was able to reconnect with one of the nurses on board who stepped in to help during the flight. They are planning to reunite at her first birthday.
Which, since she was 11 months old, is happening pretty quickly.
Very soon, yes, indeed. So, good news story there. Yeah, they did all the right things.
Brilliant job from the crew on board, and as always, I'm sure they were very thankful to have the help from the medically trained volunteers.
Absolutely, yeah. A lot of that is just it's interesting. I have to go back and look at what they keep on board, but most medical emergencies on flights are assumed to be in adults. So trying to get the appropriate medications for children and infants, those are all weight-based doses usually, which I am not qualified to talk about as a non-pediatrician, but I imagine that might be difficult. But they certainly did the right thing in trying to bring the fever down as quick as possible to help control that seizure, which was brought on by the fever.
You know, interestingly, we talked about Nevaeh being heaven spelled backwards. One of our Apg community members, Micah, his middle name is also one of those special kind of names that is spelled backwards. His middle name is Elosa. Very interesting. That's Elohssa.
Did he actually say his middle name was that?
No.
Or he said other people should be named that.
I just applied it to Micah. Sorry, Micah. Just kidding. Nobody would ever name you that, I'm sure.
No, not ever.
I just thought it was pretty funny. He said that he knows a lot of people that should be named Elosa.
Yes. I think we all do, Micah.
Oh, all right. Moving on. E. Qantas has trialed. Oops, before I do that.
We're going green. We're going green. We're gonna take care of the earth.
Qantas going green. Yeah.
So good to hear that song. It's
it
been a
is.
while.
Bum, 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 ba-dum.
We're going green.
Qantas has trialed the world's first flight ever to produce no landfill waste as the airline embarks on a mission to cut out the use of 100 million plastic items from its planes by next year. Andrew David, CEO of Qantas's domestic arm, said the flight from Sydney to Adelaide on Wednesday represented a significant day for aviation. The airline currently produces the equivalent of 80 fully laden Boeing 747 jumbos. Enter joke here, Nick. Per year in waste across its Qantas and Jetstar operations. Our cabin crews see this waste every day and they want it eliminated. And increasingly, our shareholders are demanding we do more to address our environmental footprint, Mr. David said. The move comes as Qantas produces the equivalent of, we just talked about that. Why do they keep repeating these things? I don't understand people that write these articles. They say the same thing.
I think they assume that people have very poor attention spans or short-term memories. So if they say it a bunch of times in a row in slightly different language or phrasing, that perhaps their message will stick.
I guess you're right. Just like on those commercials where they repeat the telephone number like 3 or 4 times.
Mm-hmm. Although I can never remember who the commercial's actually for, so they failed.
That's true. Okay. Anyway, what have they done? They the customers. Yes,
they've replaced all the plastic with stuff that's really clever.
Like
I mean,
what?
how do you make cutlery out of crop starch? I don't know what crop.
You haven't
starch
used
is.
any of those.
Yeah, I have.
Feels
No?
like plastic, but it's kind of like a sandpapery plastic. I guess it's really kind of a dull plastic.
Right. It's not a shiny thing. It's kind of like a dull.
I guess that they all are designed to biodegrade nice and quickly. Paper cups.
Yep.
Yeah. Packaging made from sugarcane. It's supposed to work really well as well.
Correct. The cost of switching to biodegradable materials won't be passed on to customers, the CEO explained. We are prepared to make this investment, and over the long term, it will reduce our costs.
Hang on a minute. How can you possibly increase your overheads and not pass it on to the customers?
Well, just look the other way.
Can someone give me a quick lesson on financing
It's
a company
economics.
here?
It's a higher level economics course, one I did not take. In school.
Yeah. Okay.
Business economics. Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Anyway.
But it's a really nice effort, don't you think? I think it's really good.
That's somewhere, I don't know if it's in this article or not, they said that they did have a program at some point where they were using plastic, but they were actually washing them to reuse. But then they stopped that. Excuse me, I can't talk right now because my throat is killing me.
Well, we used to.
What about regular silverware?
We use metal cutlery at the front end, and all that gets that washed and used again, except of course for the pepper and salt, which is always stolen on account of the fact
Those
it
are
looks
the
so
ones that say it
attractive.
was pinched by or pinched
Yeah,
from on the
if you
bottom of
look-
the feet.
If you look under the exactly right. Yeah, and especially when they do a special edition one, because I'm trying to remember when they put the.
Didn't they have a red one recently? that
Yeah,
you
they
showed
had
us?
recently had a bright red one, and they also had a dark black one because normally they're chrome. But they actually, I think the chrome ones are in upper. The black ones might be in premium or something. But it's great. And actually, in the headquarters, they have 2 huge ones, which are the size of a car each, which are hilarious. When you see one of those,
And they're little
tiny
pigs, right? Is that right? Like flying pigs, or
Well,
what
they're just little dumpy aeroplanes.
Oh yeah. I thought they had
don't
like a little
actually have-
face on them, though.
No.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
I think you're letting your imagination run away with you.
Well,
Steph.
no.
Great design idea, though.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
I was looking
They
for
should- they can contact me if they like the idea. I'd be happy to license it to them.
Yeah, exactly right.
I was
So long
looking
as
for
you
the ones that
copyrighted it.
Nick got me. I thought they were in this top drawer.
So they're just more like little squished airplanes. Okay.
Yeah.
Little dumpy airplanes.
Yeah, very cute. Anywho, so there you have it. Our feel-good going green story of the week from Qantas. So that's good. A good thing. Cutting down on the use of plastic. Okay. And then finally, this happened, I believe, yesterday. Friday. And Friday. Okay. Oh, well, that wasn't yesterday at all. It happened several days ago.
Seemed like just yesterday.
It just seems like yesterday, doesn't it? All right. A fuel truck driver has been charged with dangerous driving after the vehicle hit a plane at Toronto's Pearson Airport. We have some audio of something that occurred right before the incident. There was somebody calling himself a tractor, so I'm assuming that that's like a tug, maybe towing an airplane onto the apron. And so he is contacting apron control, and seems to be an issue with a fuel truck that is blocking the gate to which or by which he has to transit. And then we'll hear the rest.
Apron, tractor 308. Tractor 308, yeah, I'm not able to establish the gate. I have a Menzies fuel truck, permit number 7542, blocking my way.
Okay, nice. Are you able to get him to move?
I don't know where the guy is.
Okay, I'll maybe get a safety officer over there to have a look. What do you think? I'm not sure if I can help you there. I can call the gate center, see if they can get someone out there or something.
Apron, the guy popped out from behind the truck. He's moving out of the way.
He did, okay. Thanks a lot.
Okay, so that's resolved. The fuel truck driver was on the other side of the truck and saw that he was blocking the way of this tractor. So problem is resolved, right?
Conroe Apron, good morning, Jet 615 for Alpha Kilo 14.
Just 615, good morning. I'm locked there, but continuing off of Kilo, lane 6, actually gate 105, is that what you have?
That's correct, 105.
Okay, lane 6 to the gate, thank you.
Lane 6 to the gate, Jazz 615. Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
Montreal Apron, Jazz 615.
Sure, Jazz 615, calling.
Yeah, we are beam gate 139. Please send emergency equipment.
Okay, I'll get them on the line. What is the problem?
We just got hit by a truck.
Okay, stand by. Just 615, any information? Are you evacuating or anything? The truck is still there. Any damage or? Just 615, are you there? Just 615 there? Just 615?
No, they weren't there. They evacuated. 5 people were taken to a hospital with minor injuries after the fuel truck collided with an Air Canada Jazz plane on the tarmac at around 1:36 a.m. Friday morning. The aircraft was taxiing to its gate, and so the truck driver is going to be charged with 1 count of dangerous driving. The aircraft came to a full stop, and the crew deplaned passengers quickly, and they were escorted into the terminal building. Excuse me. All injured have now been released from the hospital. It was a Dash 8-300 with 50 passengers and 3 crew members aboard. The flight was en route to Sudbury. Is that the way you pronounce it? Sudbury? Sudbury. When it was forced to turn back due to fog. Toronto Pearson International Airport confirmed the incident in a tweet. At 1:36 a.m., the Air Canada Jazz aircraft came into contact with a Menzies fuel truck while taxiing on the apron. Airport emergency services responded. Passengers and crew evacuated safely to Terminal 1. The aircraft and vehicle were removed, and no operational impact at the airport. The extent of damage to the aircraft was not immediately clear. However, we do have some photos here. One at the scene where you can see the aftermath of the collision, and also the bottom photograph of the Jazz Dash 8 in the hangar. And it looks like considerable damage to me on the left side of the fuselage, just forward of the forward cabin door, and also just below the captain's position in the cockpit.
And also aft,
and aft. Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to work out
more than once.
Yeah, how he managed to hit the front, and then looks like he might have even clipped a prop, and then smacked into the back as well. And what's more, that dent by the captain's seat is pretty deep.
Yeah.
I'm amazed the
That
captain
was-
got away without being injured.
I think they're surmising. I was reading some comments regarding this, and some gentleman, I think, described pretty closely what most likely happened here. That the initial impact was that one up there at the front of the airplane. And so the airplane was originally going in the opposite direction that you see it in that second photograph.
I see.
And then
Okay.
it spun the airplane around, and in so doing, hit the prop on the
Yep.
on the left
'Cause you
side.
can see where it's
And then
going.
it basically the tail of the airplane just gets swung right into the back of the fuel truck. So the fuel truck hits the front, and then the aircraft spins and
Wow.
hits the
That must
back.
have been
'Cause
actually
it was
a
pretty
hell of an
rainy
impact.
and yeah.
Yeah, it's rainy, it's dark.
Yeah, and those white aeroplanes are really hard to see at night.
Mhm. Especially when they're much larger than the truck you're driving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was
Or-
interesting. I thought that the truck was also, causing issues before the Jazz -8 came onto the apron.
Mhm.
So who knows what was going on with his driver?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Not
that's
a
a
good situation.
damned expensive day, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and those poor passengers, they
And
left
the crew, yeah. It's like they
Toronto,
left.
yeah, and then they go and they try to make it to wherever the Sudbury or whatever, and then they couldn't make it in because of the fog, so they had to return. And then, just to kind of put some
Icing on the
cake,
Yeah.
yes, we get hit by a Menzies fuel truck, it's. I don't know if it's a miracle, but it sure is nice that the fuel wasn't ignited. That would have been a bad ending.
Oh, hell's bells. Yes, that would have been awful.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll, again, learn a little bit more information from this incident as the investigators move forward with their investigation. All right. That's all I have in the news folder. Thank goodness, right? All right. Let's move on then to your feedback.
Captain, incoming message.
How's everybody doing?
I
Anybody
was
need to
just
take a
going to
break?
say, I need a
Okay.
quick break. I shall
Very
be
good.
going momentarily.
Okay. Let's see. How's everybody doing over here in the chat room?
I put a Boeing cap on because you said I was being rude about 747.
No. I gave you an opening to actually be rude.
I can't do that anymore. I'm too worried about getting my P45, which you won't understand because the P45 is what you get through the mail when you've been fired.
Oh,
it's a government form.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't. I thought maybe that was some kind of a firearm.
Now that would be what you do in the States,
Oh boy.
How come I don't need? I'm tempted to try this Welsh whiskey tonight, actually, but
should try it.
Well,
I think I could probably use some whiskey because my throat is like not feeling well. Micah, I hope you took that the right way. I kind of made a joke at your expense, but I know you pretty well. I'm sure that didn't bother you to say.
Have you scrolled back up to the bit where he says, "You're dead to me, Captain"?
No,
Jack.
I haven't seen that part yet. Hearing noise again. Yeah, it's the water in the pipes again. It's just Linda and I here in the house. I should tell her, stop using the water in the pipes.
Oh, yeah, don't drink. Don't go to the toilet while I'm on air.
It would not go
okay?
well. Trust me, I'm not going to say that.
Oh dear.
Let's see.
Oh, dear. I had a lie-in this morning, especially. There you go. I've got to go and buy a new iPad tomorrow.
Why?
Well, the company
the
have
heck of it?
decided that they're not going to introduce the latest iPad to the company, to the pilots. So I was hoping that I would keep my company iPad.
Yeah.
Or at least give them a nominal sum.
Right.
But no, they're desperate for them and want it back. So I'm going to go in tomorrow. I have to buy one, and then I'm going to try and transfer all my personal stuff.
Which one are you going to go for? The Pro?
I will price them out, but probably not.
Yeah, because that's quite a premium.
Yeah, and it's a little just a little
iPad?
big, a little too unwieldy.
I actually like my iPad Mini.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what's the difference between a mini and a phone. Can't you do everything you?
Not quite. I mean, but I like the Mini for flying purposes as well. It's kind of the right size to have in an airplane that's not too large.
All right.
Yeah, it's perfect, I think, for people that
especially for
do a lot of
GA aircraft. Yeah.
core flight stuff.
Especially if you're going to mount it to the yoke or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I can understand that, but personally, I think I'll just go for another iPad. I phone, iPad, and then MacBook if I need something sizable.
That's basically what I'm using here. A couple MacBooks, an iPad, which is my company's device, EFB, but they allow us to use it for other things, such as soundboards.
Podcasting.
I'm probably the only one in the company that's using it like this. But
unique.
Yeah. And then I have the old Surface, my Microsoft Surface tablet
Actually,
that I bought for very little because we shifted from the Surface to the iPad Pro, and I'm using that for my mixer control.
I actually just bought a Microsoft Surface as well. The Surface Pro? No, I forget which one I got. I don't know anything about Microsoft, but I got it for work purposes because we do everything off of Citrix, and the latest iteration of Citrix. They have a new app for, I forget they call it Citrix Workplace or something. It works on Apple products, but it just doesn't run as smoothly as it does on Windows machines. So if I'm actually trying to do work, it works so much better on that machine, and my work paid for it. So that works for me.
Yeah. I always prefer that. Someone else
puts the bill, but I can use that for anything I want in addition to work. So that's kind of nice.
Okay. Well, not sure. Dana, are you still with us? Just turn off your video.
You might be talking to the.
Okay.
I checked on my landscapers as well. They're still working.
Okay. Do you need any more time, Steph, or you're ready to go?
No, I should be good.
Okay.
I don't think I have to check in with them at all. I'm surprised they're still there. They might be wrapping up. So.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Let's start off with this piece of feedback from our good friend, Radio Roger.
Delta Airlines is cutting back on how far seats will recline on certain domestic flights. The top of coach seats to go back only 2 inches instead of the traditional 4. The airline says it's a way of protecting the space of the person behind you and not a way of squeezing in more people. In fact, for now, they're promising not to cut leg room at all. This is all according to the pointsguy.com, which says Delta will convert its Airbus A320s, which should take 2 months. Radio Roger, APG News.
I love it. Our real radio.
It's so good.
Announcer. So cool.
Bringing a smidgen of professionalism to our little show here.
What little we have. Thank you,
It
Roger,
comes
for
from
that.
Radio Roger.
Anyway, so this story has been out for a few weeks. Sorry we didn't get to it sooner, Roger. But as you mentioned, the pointsguy.com had a little blurb about the fact that Delta Airlines is basically cutting by like maybe 1.5, 2 inches of the amount that the seat back reclines. And I think it's mainly because of the fact that many people, I don't know about you all, but I hardly ever recline my seat when I'm flying. No, I'm not a
as soon as we take off.
Okay. But
Until I have to put it back up. Yep.
Yeah. But I guess I never feel like I need to, but it's kind of weird when the person in front of me, especially if you're sitting in economy, when the seat pitch is kind of tight and they recline to the full extent, and you have a laptop, let's say, on your tray table. It does kind of make things interesting. Now, some people would say, well, Jeff, you shouldn't have your laptop. That's just too big. You should be using your iPad or whatever. But you know, a lot of times I'm editing audio and I have to use my MacBook because that's my software is on my MacBook. But I guess, you know, I don't mind if somebody kind of just very gradually reclines the seat back.
Like
but
in intervals, so you
yeah,
barely noticed.
Like,
It sneaks up on you,
okay, here, you know,
not
it's
just like
coming.
coming back.
Instead of the ones where you just all of a sudden out of the blue, wham! Like,
That's why I get it out of the way early on the flight, so that way it gives the person behind me time to
there you go.
adjust before they even have a chance to pull their laptop out of their bag. Before we hit 10,000 feet, seat back.
I wonder
Or the maximum time to be annoyed. I have to say, personally, I would almost prefer the seats to be fixed pitch, all of them, or fixed angle, and adopt a sort of semi-reclined position, because with a bad back, sitting bolt upright is very painful, and the seats are rarely configured for someone who's a tall person. And what's the point of 2 inches? Said the actress to the bishop. So, you know, if you're only going to give them a 2-inch recline, don't bother. Just fix the seats in a semi-reclined position so it's sort of midway, and then everyone will be happy.
Although
Sort of.
in this case, though, it's almost like they're trying to get the best of both worlds. Like, hey, the people that really love reclining, oh, I feel the seat back is actually moving, so I feel like I'm reclining, but it's kind of sparing the person behind them the full extent of what it used to recline. Yeah, I
If
don't
you
know.
really want the seat to recline as much as it possibly can, save your pennies, get a business class, first class seat.
Yeah, this all is kind of foreign to you, isn't it, Steph?
Yeah,
this
it doesn't
whole-
the seat always recline all the way back, like to lay flat?
lay flat.
I'm not sure what you mean
Yeah.
by 2 inches. This is confusing to me.
Okay.
And I'm also a little surprised that they don't go for the system that allows you to move your seat pan forwards, which means that the guy behind doesn't lose any space at all. You lose a bit of leg room if you want to recline, because that then deters people from reclining, which I think is a clever system.
I think some of the newer seats are like that, right? That they actually shift.
I don't
the seat
know.
forward
I
a
haven't
little
seen
bit.
any like that yet.
Okay.
I haven't been in economy
No.
for years.
Nick doesn't know either.
Well, I get a better seat up the front. Usually, I used to. I'm going to do plenty in economy from now on, though. So I guess I better get used to it.
Well, when I'm a passenger on an airplane, either deadheading or non-revving, I'm 99% of the time I'm in the very back. So I've experienced this. So I feel your pain, people.
For me, I will say it kind of depends on where I land next to the window, because I almost always try and get a window seat. I try to get the seat back aligned so that I'm just right behind the window. So there's a place for me to rest my head against the actual wall and not the window itself. So the adjustable seat back is helpful for that. If I would lean back and be into the window, then I don't lean it back. So.
Okay.
And some people do like the straight upright too. For some people's bad backs, that actually feels better.
Yeah, I'm thinking to myself that the rare times that my back is sore for whatever reason, I seem to
Upright
prefer
is
the upright
nicer,
position better. Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
To each their own. So
Yep.
keep it adjustable, and we can all pick what we want.
Exactly. All right.
People, yeah.
I think there's some airlines. I think Spirit is one, isn't it? That
There are
they don't
fixed,
have recline.
Yeah, I don't think
at all.
Allegiant reclines either.
Okay. Item number 2 from Adam, or some people pronounce it Adam. My commendations to Captain Nick for attempting to do my previous feedback justice. My reference to pairwise separation actually refers to the practice of moving away from wake turbulence categories to a scheme where each individual aircraft pair has a separate separation requirement. In the current category-based system, there is often an additional buffer with the separation because that separation, for example, between all heavy and light bearings, is based on the separation needed between the heaviest heavy and the lightest light. However, with pairwise separation, behind an A340, one might end up with 2.8 nautical miles for an A320, 2.9 nautical miles for an A319, and 2.7 for an A321, etc. See you at Duxford and Oshkosh soon. So obviously he sent this in before your great meetup at Duxford. This is our good
It's
friend
all
Adam.
apples and pears to me. I don't know what he's talking about. Do
Well,
you
he
know?
didn't talk about Applewise separation.
Hey, I'm drinking a India pressed apple cider.
Oh, you're really getting into
Oh, there you go.
ciders now.
Yeah, I
if you
kind of
got a
have been.
pear, if you got a pear one, that would be perfect for Adam.
I've had pear ciders.
They're
They're
good.
really good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay, so we are now he's made it clear. So it depends on the preceding aircraft and the following aircraft as to what separation you go. And he explained this to me, but I don't remember him calling it pairwise separation, but that was a new term. But he did specify that one of the reasons they want us to always give our aircraft type and even our variant is because that goes into the computer and it can tell exactly how much separation you need for your aircraft. So saying an A340 is no longer good enough. You need to say an A340 300 or 600 or et cetera, et cetera. So they can really calculate this down well and increase the rate of flow. So clever system. Talked about it before, but I didn't realize that was the term.
I had not realized it either.
It makes good sense, though.
It
You're
does.
trying to be as efficient as
Yeah.
possible.
But it's classic that air traffic should choose a term that no one understands. So
Well, we don't want to. They don't want to make it so that
Don't give
everybody
away all their
understands.
secrets.
Yeah.
no. All
Keep a
their
little
C
mystique
tots and
about it.
T tots and pairwise and
Tatas.
I don't know,
tatas.
scalewise and tatas.
You notice the title I used for the last.
I did.
time.
I did.
Yeah. That was Steph's
enjoyed that one.
inspiration.
You're welcome.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you, Adam. As always, you're such a great part of our community. Blaster Bill writes, "Hello, Captain Jeff and Nick and Dana and Dr. Steph. Greetings from the left coast where it is actually raining and 65 degrees, which is kind of unusual for Southern California this time of year. I wanted to compliment Captain Nick on Plain Tales Tenerife, which I enjoyed listening to. I was 12 years old when this happened, and it made a huge impression on me. One thing I took away from this accident, which all of you alluded to, which I believe is critical for safe flight operations, clear, concise, standard ICAO phraseology during radio transmissions. I have flown to many countries overseas during my 25-year aviation career, and ICAO standard phraseology works everywhere. But in the US, this concept has lost its importance, judging by all the shorthand radio slang you hear during radio transmissions at major international airports or up at altitude. The US slang doesn't work in Mexico or Canada, and it certainly doesn't work in Europe, Asia, or Africa. Why use it here? If all countries are intent on training their pilots to only use standard ICAO phraseology, I believe we would operate in a safer, more efficient environment. Why do we see instructors on ATIS that state aircraft read back all runway hold short instructions or always use call sign when communicating with tower? Because many pilots in our country don't use standard phraseology. Always repeat the clearance you receive from ATC and always include your full call sign. Simple. Safe flight operations are dependent on it. Cheers. From Blaster Bill, Los Angeles, California. And for some reason here, he wanted to state something about beer. He said, P.S. Water plus barley plus hops plus yeast equal beer. I guess that's the ancient German Reinheitsgebot, right? Law for what a beer is actually. Water. Just only water, barley, hops, and yeast. But there are countries around the world that throw some other stuff in there too. And I'd still call it beer, but I guess it's the strictest definition of what beer is.
Maybe he's saying that's the standard of beer. Like we have standard phraseology. We have the beer standard.
Oh, maybe that's what he was trying to do there.
I have no idea.
Well, I'll have to ask him next
I'm
time.
probably reading way too much into that.
Probably so.
Yeah, I'm just wondering where the grapefruit goes in.
Right after hops.
Oh, hops, grapefruit. Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
And it makes a delicious beer.
Apparently, not something I'd choose. Well, I of course agree, but I can understand why it's often different in the US because, I mean, it's such a damn big country, and so many pilots fly their entire careers, private and professional, and never leave the United States. So, for them, they would be going, why do we need to bother worrying what the rest of the world does?
Because the rest of the world comes here.
Right, and they don't seem to care.
Yeah.
And because there's no reason preventing us from doing that. I don't think that's a valid excuse for
No.
not using standard phraseology. I think it's, I don't even think it's laziness. I was going to say it's laziness, but I don't think it is. I think it's what you said, Nick. It's that, when you kind of exist in a bubble and everyone else exists in that bubble, that's how you get differences in ways of doing things, different customs, different dialects, different languages, and then it just kind of snowballs from there. But at the end of the day, for folks who are doing this professionally, it's just that it's a profession, and there should be standards that go along with it in terms of training and actual execution of the job.
Yeah, I mean, if English is your second language and you're learning to become a pilot, you will learn the set phrases by rote, and you will learn them by heart so that you're incredibly proficient in them. And when people stray outside those set phrases, you'll probably struggle a little bit. And I do feel a bit sorry for those who have worked so hard to learn aviation English when they move to a country where that phraseology isn't common. And amongst pilots, American pilots, I can understand to a point. Amongst American air traffic controllers, that's where I find it difficult to forgive. Yes. Because they're the people who directly communicate with a foreign pilot, and they're the ones that need to have an understanding of what should be said so that they can comprehend exactly what's going on.
True. However, if you're contributing to an overall picture of situational awareness, perhaps you should keep it to standard phraseology.
Granted, I'm not denying that at all. But I mean, we go to a country like France where they're quite likely to speak in French to a lot of the aircraft around you. That's even worse.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at least most transmissions in the States, you'll get the gist of what's going on. But much better that than use a completely foreign language.
Sure.
Yeah. Well,
I wonder too about efficiency of communication, though. If you're sticking to standard phraseology, then you're not adding in extraneous information or stuff that's tying up or preventing someone else from saying what they need to say.
Well,
Yeah.
I think a lot of it's complacency. We we become very lazy and don't communicate properly and use standard phraseology. I mean, Jeff and I fly out of Atlanta all the time, and you're on a departure, right? So let's say you're departing on, I don't know, on the Palmer departure. So when you check in, we're supposed to say, blah, blah, blah. Why are you shaking your head?
Well, actually, we don't have to say the actual departure because we're not climbing via. When we initially flew those, we were climbing via, and we were required to say the departure name, but we're not anymore. There was actually a memo put out a couple months ago.
When did I miss that?
I don't know. But so I never say the departure because I'm not climbing via. It's just a standard 10,000 feet. So I just say I'm passing 3 for 10, and nobody ever comes back and says, what departure are you on? Because they can see it on their strip. But I know the point that you're trying to make is that, we don't think about trying to communicate efficiently and clearly because it's just so easy not to. We, at our company, and this may be before you got on with us, Dana, I remember a memo from operations that was reminding everybody that, you need to be succinct and use proper and standard phraseology when you're communicating with air traffic control. For instance, instead of, when they say clear for takeoff, you hear people all the time say clear to go, or, whatever, something other than clear for takeoff. And
so see ya isn't
yeah, that's another one. Yeah, see ya. I think Dana, I think you'd agree with me. Some people think that just sounds cool to say stuff like that.
No, it's really cool.
Yeah,
Today,
I'm impressed.
Yeah, I agree with Nick on a lot of things, and in this, I mean, disagree with Nick on a lot of things, but I absolutely agree with Nick on this. I think that we've gone so far away, and I can see where foreign carriers would certainly have a problem. I know myself personally, when I go to a foreign country, the limited experience that I have had, for example, going to someplace like Mexico. It is very difficult for me to understand them because, number one, I'm not in tune to listening to the accent and the lack of English comprehension. But the bigger thing is I'm just so used to hearing the slang, the not formal ICAO standard procedures. So there's where in our and I know RH and AG would chime in on this, that that there are standards, and there's of course the pilot controller glossary that we're supposed to abide by and use those standard phrases, but we don't necessarily do that all the time. I mean, how many times you hear on the radio and we're supposed to say Acme flight number and you just hear the flight number.
Yeah.
Right.
And that, most of the time that's not going to be a problem, but guess what? You and I, we all know that oftentimes, or not oftentimes, but on occasion, you'll be out there and there will be a different airline with the same exact number. And that could be a safety issue.
Mhm.
When
it's, I always draw these parallels in my mind between what we talk about here about aviation related stuff and the stuff I do in my day-to-day job. It's not infrequent that we have to use interpreters with some of our non-English speaking patients. And I feel fortunate that I had some training in how to use interpreters appropriately. And I feel like that would be helpful for a lot of folks, especially even in this type of situation, because it really teaches you how to use, you're not trying to use dumbed down language, but you're trying to use simple language that's easy to communicate your idea. You want to, not ramble on because you want to give the interpreter time to repeat what you've said. And it's kind of the same thing with radio communication. You want to make your point quickly, so succinctly, give them time to counter that, make sure it's understood, and move on. I can see it so many times when there's folks who have not had interpreter training, and it almost makes me cringe because they're doing things like, tell him that I would like him to, and they're talking like in the third person to the patient. It's like, no, don't do that. But then it kind of goes on and on and on. And it's like, okay, you gotta stop and pause and give the other person a chance to say what they need to say. Maybe that's not a good corollary here, but I kind of see parallels a little bit.
Oh no, it's perfect. It sounds just like JFK track on there, who just never stopped talking.
I was going to say that Kennedy has got to be the worst example of air traffic controllers. Sometimes even people that were born and raised and lived their entire lives in the U.S. go, what did he just say? And then I cringe when I hear them giving instructions to people from another land. And I'm thinking they can, come on, just use standard phraseology. They'll understand what, you keep having to say this over and over and over again. And every time you do it, you're making them sound more stupid and making yourself sound more stupid.
Exactly.
In the truth to be told, I mean, I'm a hardy Northeasterner, as we all know, so I understand the lingo and I understand the speed of conversation. And when I go up there and I have problems in understanding them sometimes, now we have issues.
Really,
really
serious issues.
Seriously, because I speak the lingo. I understand most of the accent. It's crazy.
Another thing that's frustrating to me, and I've heard this both in radio transmissions for aviation, where you have two folks who are speaking in English, but perhaps one of them English is not their first language, and I see it all the time in my line of work where someone does not speak English and you're trying to communicate even a simple idea, where the person on the receiving end of the conversation is clearly not understanding what the instructions are, and the person who's giving the instructions continues to repeat it in the exact same manner.
You just have to say it louder.
If someone's not getting it, you need to reconsider how you phrased it and try different words, because it means they perhaps don't understand the words that are coming out of your mouth.
No, Steph, you just have to say it a lot louder.
Yeah, I know. That's, translation by volume.
Yeah.
Hey, good news. Guess what?
What?
I can actually hear myself think now.
Oh, they stopped.
They've stopped. Oh,
good.
Now I need some Excedrin.
Well, you know what?
Here,
You'll
I
have
have-
time to go get it.
I've got
because
Advil.
Guess what? And thanks again, Blasterville, for stimulating that great discussion regarding standard physiology.
I like what Lane said here. Imagine the poor Mexican controllers trying to figure out the Boston accent.
Oh yeah, no hope there. No hope.
That's complete lost cause, Lane. Sorry.
That's why they're not allowed to fly in there.
That is why they banned me from Mexico, Lane.
Okay. Well, with that, let's go ahead and play this week's installment of the Old Pilot's Plain Tales.
The Old Pilot's Plain Tales, Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Whilst doing my research, I often come across an aircraft that looks so weird, it makes me stop and furrow my brow in confusion while I wonder what on earth was in the mind of the creator. Many were made as stepping stones to test and discover how to reach a goal, such as the Lunar Landing Research Vehicle. This unlikely-looking, spidery creation was built by Bell Aerosystems to work out how to control the lunar lander that would ultimately take the Apollo astronauts on a well-controlled and successful landing on the moon. The final phase of every lunar landing was a manually controlled descent, and to gain the handling experience necessary to perform this tricky piece of flying, the mission commanders started off with helicopter training. Apollo astronaut Kurt Mitchell said that for conventional aircraft, the helicopter was the closest in flying characteristics to the lunar lander. So if you didn't get helicopter training, you weren't going. The training vehicle was a mess of aluminium trusses which surrounded a General Electric CF700 turbofan jet engine that was mounted vertically, pointing downwards, and free to gimbal so that it could remain pointing straight downwards. The purpose of the engine was to get the unlikely-looking craft airborne to the test altitude and then be throttled back to support about 83% of the machine's weight. By doing this, it would allow the training vehicle to descend at a gentle rate, which represented the lower level of gravity found on the moon. Once on this downward path, more Buck Rogers-like control systems then controlled the lunar lander trainer in a similar way to the real spacecraft. It had two hydrogen peroxide-powered lift rockets with variable thrust to control the rate of descent, and the extremities of this four-legged metal spider were adorned with 16 smaller hydrogen peroxide thrusters to allow the pilot to pitch, yaw, and roll the machine. I often wonder if, with NASA's need for vast amounts of this volatile chemical, there was any shortage of blondes in the United States during this period. Hair products aside, the lunar landing test vehicles went through several iterations. The first two were built for research and a result of a $3.6 million contract. And after a number of test flights, the craft were fitted out with styrofoam representations of the actual lunar vehicle's cockpit and the lunar module's three-axis hand controller and throttle. As I've intimated, it was a strange-looking craft with few redeeming features, but then, with an endurance of 10 minutes and a maximum speed of 40 miles an hour, it was never really intended as a mode of transport. Around the turbofan engine was a four-legged open metal framework which contained an odd collection of round pressure vessels, pipes and wires which fed the thrust rockets and reaction controls. Perched on what could loosely be described as the front was an ejector seat, open to the elements but in a three-sided box containing some simple controls and a few instruments tacked on. Despite the odd appearance, the LLRVs were very advanced, using digital fly-by-wire technology. They relied exclusively on an interface with 3 analog computers to convert the pilot's movements to digital signals, which were then transmitted by wire to execute his commands. As an aside, the ejector seat was an interesting project all of its own. Although several years before Martin Baker had successfully built a 0-0 ejector seat, one capable of saving the pilot from a stationary aircraft at ground level, NASA chose Weber Aircraft to design and build them a seat for this remarkable flying machine. NASA and Weber had collaborated before when they built ejector seats for the Gemini space project, so perhaps it wasn't surprising. As an aside to this aside, the Gemini seat was itself very interesting. Despite the weight restrictions that the designers had to deal with, they included an ejector seat for 2 specific instances. The seat was designed to be used on the launch pad when it would fire the occupant on his back sideways through a hatch that was forced open by pistons and out of the capsule. It could also be used in the event of a parachute failure following re-entry. Back to the previous aside. The 00 seat Weber aircraft design worked very well and was used safely on 3 occasions. By the time the first test vehicle was ready to train astronauts, it had completed 198 flights without a major incident, so it was shipped to Houston and made available for Neil Armstrong to begin flying. He made his first flight at the end of March, but a little more than a month later, on his 22nd flight, he lost control when the multi-million-dollar craft lost helium pressure, causing a depletion of the hydrogen peroxide used to power the attitude thrusters. Gyrating around at a mere 200 feet above the ground, he was forced to eject, and with a second or two, he was carrying out a short parachute descent into the scrub. Dragged by his parachute for a way, his only injury were some scratches to his handsome, steely-eyed rocket man test pilot face. Of interest, the accident investigation was carried out by the Aircraft Operations Office Chief, Joseph Algranti, an experienced LLRV pilot. Having carried out the investigation, he then subsequently lost control during a flight to expand the vehicle's speed envelope. After struggling to fly, he ejected only half a second before the vehicle hit the ground, an amazingly close call. Not exactly blessed with smooth aerodynamics, it appeared that the cockpit enclosure had caused a yaw that exceeded the power of the thrusters to control. This was simply cured by taking the roof off. There were 2 distinct modes of flight for the research vehicle, the LLRV, and the training vehicle, the LLTV. The basic mode was with the engine fixed, so that it always pointed downwards in relation to the body. In the gimbaled lunar sim mode, the engine was allowed to swivel and was kept orientated towards the Earth. This allowed the vehicle to tilt at the far greater angles that would be typical of hovering and maneuvering above the lunar surface. Despite its ungainly appearance, the LLRV was equipped with an astonishingly sophisticated array of early sensors, including Doppler radar and computational hardware. The system had no specific name, but the effect it produced was called Lunar Sim Mode. This was the highest degree of hardware simulation and the purpose of the whole project. It wasn't a system to unburden the pilot, such as an autopilot does, nor was it meant to introduce any sort of safety or economy. The system's sole intention was to project the illusion of piloting the actual lunar module. You could think of it as a mixture of stability augmentation and an alteration of vertical acceleration according to the lunar gravity constant, all accompanied by instantaneous corrective action. The LLRV's lunar sim mode was even able to counter wind gusts within milliseconds to give the impression of flying in a vacuum. The visually significant sign of an engaged lunar sim mode was the free gimbal turbofan, always strictly pointing downwards towards the ground, regardless of the LLRV's current attitude. This unique aircraft represented one of the few hardware simulators that actually became airborne. Bell built 2 research vehicles and 3 training vehicles, and they became an essential part of the astronauts' training. Astronaut Bill Anders described the LLTV as a much unsung hero of the Apollo program. Although Armstrong and Allegranti had to eject from the LLRV, no astronaut ever had to eject from the LLTV, and every lunar module pilot through to the final Apollo 17 mission trained in the LLTV and flew to a landing on the moon successfully. Armstrong himself said that Eagle, the first lunar module to land on the moon, flew very much like the LLTV, which he had flown more than 30 times at Ellington Air Force Base near the Space Center. He made over 50 landings in the trainer, and the final trajectory that he flew to the actual landing was very much like those he had flown in practice. He remarked that the trainer, by then nicknamed the Flying Bedstead, gave him a good deal of confidence, a comfortable familiarity. Now, NASA's Flying Bedstead wasn't the first ungainly test vehicle to gain that particular nickname. Over a decade before, a similar but slightly less sophisticated piece of flying scrap iron was built by Rolls-Royce. The company was experimenting with the concept of vertical takeoff and jet-borne flight, and under the guidance of Dr. Alan Griffith, they designed an unlikely aircraft which was excitingly called the Test Measuring Rig, or TMR for short. No wonder someone had to come up with a more memorable name, the Flying Bedstead. The name became so well established that it can be found on the official government Ministry of Aviation Aeronautical Research Council reports. Whereas Bell Aerosystems built something resembling a scaffolding cube, the Rolls-Royce Bedstead was elongated, more like a jet-powered shopping trolley. They both sat on spindly legs with castering wheels, but in the center of the TMR was a solid mass of 2 Rolls-Royce Nene turbojets. The engines were mounted fore and aft, as much as front and back could be determined, facing each other, with their intakes outboard and all the thrust aimed into the center of the machine. One might imagine that that would be a problem, except that the jet efflux was redirected to point downwards, one into a single nozzle and the other engine into a pair either side. The pilot perched, looking fairly precarious, on a platform affixed to the top. The ungainly machine flew from Hucknall Aerodrome in Nottinghamshire, but for a year its flying forays were constrained by a vast gantry which tethered the monster at various points to prevent it from moving out of a defined area or tipping over. An overhead cable could also cushion a heavy landing by restraining it during descent. However, within the limits of the rig, it was free to fly. The test pilots regularly climbed up onto the back of the beast in the hope of taming it, and on the 3rd of August 1954, Rolls-Royce chief test pilot Ron Shepard drew the short straw and became the first to conduct a free flight. Without any stability augmentation and controlled by firing compressed air out of the outrigger arms, he proved that it was possible to control the machine whilst it balanced on its jet engines. However, flying the TMR was far from easy. It had marginal excess power, and the Nene engines had very slow response to throttle changes, which required a considerable degree of anticipation when controlling the height of the machine. Following the successful free flight test, the bedstead was moved to the Royal Aircraft Establishment Research Facility at Bedford.
The Ministry of Supply has now given permission to release the first films of the fabulous flying bedstead. Whisper of this extraordinary new flying machine reached us about 5 months ago. Designed for experiments in vertical takeoff, the bedstead has 2 jet engines mounted end-to-end. An exhaust.
It was here that it was fitted with an auto-stabilization system developed by the Instrument and Air Photography Department to determine if an artificial control system would be necessary for hovering the aircraft and investigating the requirements for achieving stable flight. During the stability trials, a great deal of data was obtained from the test pilots who flew it in repeatable maneuvers representative of an aircraft transitioning into hovering flight. The main problem that the pilots reported was keeping the TMR at a stable height, which was mainly due to engine response time. It was established that any future VTOL, vertical takeoff and landing, aircraft would need an engine that responded quickly to the pilot's demands. Despite its rather crude beginnings, by the time the bedstead had been modified by the RAE, it was becoming quite sophisticated. Whilst the engine and yaw controls were manual, the pitch and roll controls were entirely electrically signaled with triple redundancy in case of a failure. However, despite the improvements, it remained an extremely tricky aircraft to fly. What's more, there was no provision made to abandon the machine, as it flew before the 00 ejector seat had been developed. A second flying bedstead had been built, XK426, and a number of pilots were being instructed in VTOL techniques. Amongst these was Wing Commander Henry Larsen, a New Yorker of Danish origin who had become naturalized as a British subject. Apart from being a difficult aircraft to control, the bedstead only had 6 minutes of fuel. Larsen landed in a hurry and, despite being tethered to a crane, tipped the machine over against a gantry and was sadly crushed to death. The Rolls-Royce thrust measuring rig was a stepping stone in the development of the Hawker Harrier, by far the most successful vertical takeoff and landing fighter until the introduction of the F-35B Lightning II, which actually is only touted as a short takeoff and vertical landing machine. The Harrier served with many air forces, including those of India, Italy, Spain, as well as the United States Marine Corps. Whilst the Harrier was a remarkable aircraft, its achievements pale into insignificance when compared with the success of NASA's Lunar Landing Module that took the first men to the moon. Both machines can still be viewed, the British Iron Bedstead, XJ314, at the Science Museum in London, and the American luxury mattress version at the United States Air Force Flight Test Museum at Edwards Air Force Base. I still find it amusing to think that both projects started off in a machine that could well have starred in a Walt Disney production, and I sometimes wonder if the test pilots had to speak the special spell.
Laguna, Macoides, Precorum, Sanctus Be.
Substitutionary locomotion before they flew.
How clever. I love this music. Brings me back to my watching TV, black and white TV in the 60s.
It's so generic, isn't it? You could almost use it everywhere.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, that was a great subject, the flying bed. I wasn't sure where you were going with that, flying bedsteads.
I don't think I went anywhere, did I? I mean, it was two situations where they built something out of scrap iron and made it fly, but actually for quite noble purposes. So the end result was great. But when you look at those machines and wonder what the hell they think they're doing with them, you do wonder.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
I thought it was
Well-
pretty interesting that was it Neil Armstrong that said that the actual lunar module handled very similarly to the test
Yeah.
bed or the
Very
flying
clever
bed.
concept,
Yeah.
actually creating a simulator that actually flies, and then using a very well controlled descent engine to make it come down at the same rate it would under the moon's gravity, and then have such a sophisticated stabilization system that even a gust of wind wouldn't appear to affect it, because so it had to appear like it was flying in a vacuum. It's a very clever
Yeah.
system that Berlin developed for that.
Especially for that time frame of
Yeah.
technology.
Oh, yeah. But when you look at the actual machine itself, this spidery metal monster with the poor astronaut perched out in front in a styrofoam cockpit, it looks really weird.
It must. All right. Well, thanks again for that wonderful plain tale, sir.
No, I love it. Love it.
All right.
Thanks.
And I guess we'll continue to move on. We have about 40 minutes remaining, according to our producer, Liz. So let's get to it. Item 4 is from Jim. He says, forgive me if this question has already been asked, but I have a question about aviation and insurance. I'm not sure we'll be able to answer it, but we'll have a go at it. I'm in my mid-40s and have a 20-year career in the property and casualty insurance business. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your level of optimism, I learned that I loved aviation after I became fairly planted in the insurance industry. I have a family and a mortgage, so the risk of leaving my insurance career to pursue aviation doesn't look likely. Since I have a fairly extensive insurance background, do you mind sharing comments about aviation insurance for the legacy carriers and perhaps general aviation too? Are you aware of recruiters who specialize in aviation insurance? Let's see, that was a confidential note he added. I love the show and all you do to make every episode great. Making aviation podcasting great again, right? That's our slogan. No, that's not true. Especially all those
my
people.
red hat on now.
Yeah, all those
We got a
people.
long way to go then.
All those people are do aviation podcasts are going. They're choking right now. What? Anyway,
I love it.
so I do not know about how the legacy carriers go about getting insured. I'm sure there's probably entire departments devoted to that kind of thing. Wouldn't you think, Dana?
Yeah, I think so, and I'm not 100% sure, but isn't Acme self-insured?
I could be. I don't know.
I know we are for medical.
Yeah, not sure. Like major hull loss and like a catastrophic accident. Where several people are lost. I'm not sure.
Not either.
Yeah, that's a good question. I wish I knew the answer to that, Jim. Perhaps somebody listening would know the answer. But as far as general aviation is concerned, again, I'm not very involved at all in GA at this point. But I know that Steph and Dana are. And what do you know about aviation insurance in that realm?
Well, Dr. Steph, you want to start off? Or you want me to?
Sorry, I had to step away to talk to my neighbor, and now it won't go back to my hold on, default safe.
Everything sounds normal to me.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah.
Because it was coming through on my regular speakers there. I want to make sure it wasn't echoing.
Yeah.
And I completely missed the question here. I'm sorry. Let me catch up.
It was from Jim, and he's in the insurance.
Yeah.
and-
I'm sorry, Jim. Give me 2 seconds.
I'll fill in while Steph does her catch up, because one of our jobs on our airline is to go into the aircraft documents on each flight and make sure we have a valid insurance certificate for the aircraft. So we are insured by an outside insurer, and they obviously cover the cost of any indemnity, for hull loss, or if we have any claims made against us. So and that, you're quite right, Jeff, that would be dealt with by an entire department, because it's a damned expensive job insuring an airline. Because even though we're extremely low risk, the cost of replacing an aircraft and the cost of the court cases that might come about following a serious accident are just huge, and they would sink the average airline if we weren't insured and didn't have some way of recouping those monies. So yeah, for us it's quite an important factor.
So on the GA side of things, it's a little bit different. Certainly if it's your own aircraft, I'm sure you would have that fairly well insured. I don't have my own aircraft, so I actually have something called just like for people who don't own their own homes, you can get renter's insurance. The flight school I rent from actually requires it now. They did not previously. They just strongly suggested it. I think that varies flight school to flight school, but it's relatively inexpensive, and it's probably a good idea, because that would go towards the cost. If there were an incident, you would not be liable for that. The flight school would not have such a big financial outlay, potentially, even though I'm sure they're well insured themselves for those reasons. But they do require a minimum, let's see here, $1 million combined single limit option with passenger bodily injury limited to 100,000, and a minimum $2,500 deductible. So yeah.
Now, Jim, my comments on general aviation insurance is insurance companies make it very difficult for new pilots to rent aircraft insurance regulations. For example, let's say Dr. Steph, well, actually myself, I'll use myself as an example. When I was trying to build multi-engine time.
Multi-engine's a big
All right.
problem.
So I need to have 50 hours in multi-engine aircraft in order to be able to rent the aircraft. And
How many hours did it take you to get your multi-engine certificate, though? Do you remember? Because I know how long it took me.
10.
Yeah, 15 is kind of the average.
10 to 15.
So you have 15 hours of multi-engine time, but you need 50 to 75 before you can rent the aircraft and fly it solo. So
you have some more dual time.
You have a lot more dual time and that's why I've not done a lot of multi-engine flying, because it's very expensive if you're renting the aircraft and also someone to fly with you.
Yeah, it's a very, very difficult thing. And even to rent a general aviation aircraft, for example, I flew a Piper Warrior. For me to go rent a Cessna 172, you had to have an insurance checkout. Even though I'm a current single engine airplane pilot, I had to be checked out in that particular model of aircraft. Or if I wanted to do an RG, retractable gear, you had to have 25 or 50 hours in a retractable gear aircraft. Again, it makes it so very difficult for anybody that wants to try to build time, like Dr. Steph, that wants to go out and rent airplanes. I mean, if you don't have Cirrus time, well, what do you?
I had to do 5 hours in the Cirrus aircraft before the flight school with an instructor from the flight school checking me out in it.
And I've looked into it here in the Atlanta area. Up at the McCollum, there's a oh my God, scare the crap out of me.
Somebody just fall off the roof?
I don't know. It sounds like a dead body that fell. Oh my God, there goes another one.
Bringing you back to those days in Boston.
Oh yeah. So anyways, what was it? Oh yeah. So I was looking at it. I know an operator up there at McCollum, and I wanted to go get checked out in the SR-22 way back when. As an airline pilot, I was flying the regionals. I just want to take my friends flying. 10 hours. Hello? So 10 hours.
Yeah, 5 to 10 hours is not uncommon for Cirrus.
I'm sorry. Bye-bye.
That's okay.
Just to take over for Dana. It's not uncommon because it is a fairly expensive aircraft, and they want to make sure that they've given proper training and checkout. And, it generally higher horsepower, so high performance aircraft, things happen more quickly at higher airspeeds, and they want to make sure they've checked out those pilots appropriately and are comfortable with them flying.
Yeah. So. Micah asks about open airplane He says, doesn't Open Airplane take care of this when you go to
I don't
that
know. I have never
option?
used Open Airplane, so I'm not
Yeah.
sure exactly how it works. We might get some feedback from folks who have used it.
Yeah.
And to answer Lane's question, I did have my complex prior to that, although strictly speaking, the Cirrus is not a complex aircraft because it does not have retractable gear.
No. Hey, Jim.
It is high performance, however. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Jim, I think he's kind of thinking, okay, I'm already in the insurance business. Probably
Mhm.
have to stay in insurance related stuff, but I love aviation. So if I could combine the two. So if somebody out there is listening that has any ideas for Jim as far as, for him to kind of get into either legacy airline kind of insurance work or general aviation, any recruiters who might specialize in that kind of thing, contact me, and then I'll send the information to Jim or get the two of you together.
And Jim, I forget exactly who underwrites the insurance that I have, but I usually purchase it through AOPA or through their affiliation.
I would imagine it's probably a pretty small little world. Maybe not.
But they have a lot of customers out there, so
okay.
I
There
think
you
it could potentially be pretty big and lucrative business. So.
Okay. Cool. Well, let's hope so. Again, if you're listening and you have some information for Jim, send it to feedback@airlinepilotguy.com, and then we'll get you two connected or convey the information to Jim. All right. Let's see. Item 5. Mokulele. Hang on. Mokulele. To add new routes and test electric hybrid airplane. This is from Andrew. He said, this is in relation to when you recently talked about the Canadian float operator Harbour Air adding an electrically driven aircraft to their fleet. I just found this post about the island hopping airline in Hawaii, Mokulele, is to do the same with a modified Cessna aircraft by the company Ampere. Oh, I get it. AMP, amp, like amperage. And the article is included here starting the 17th of June. Mokulele Airlines will fly twice daily between Maui and Lanai from $57 each way. That following the acquisition of Mokulele by Memphis-based Southern Airways Express a few months ago. And the company is looking to expand the brand here in Hawaii. But wait, that's not the part we want to read. It's about the electric stuff. Okay, Mokulele plans to test a new hybrid aircraft model on their Kahului to Hana Maui route starting this fall. That as a result of a partnership between Mokulele and Ampere. An Ampere spokesman said. With a short flight, it shows off the technology and its benefits. Hawaii's focus on sustainability also makes it more aligned with our own vision. He added that potential fuel savings of 50 to 70% are possible with 25 to 50% maintenance cost reduction. The company's site says that Ampere is on a mission to provide the world with all electric-powered commercial flights that are affordable, quiet, and environmentally conscious. If things go well, such planes carrying up to 9 passengers could serve longer routes, including between Honolulu and Maui.
Yeah, very interesting. So Kahului to Hana is not a long distance as the crow flies. Driving is very interesting. It takes you 3 hours because it's. I think Dana just recently did that trip, correct?
Yeah, but I wasn't on the Big Island. That's where Kahului and Hana are.
No, they're on Maui. They're
Kahului,
Maui.
Yeah. What am I thinking?
Yeah.
My name's Dana. Yeah, it's not a very long. I think it's roughly 45, 50 miles.
Yeah.
But
The reason it takes so long to drive is
620
lane
turns.
bridges and turns and
620 turns one way.
What if you just drive like straight through all the pineapple?
Oh no, you're like on cliff edges and things like that.
Oh, never mind.
I'm sure it's a beautiful flight. You know, if you've
Yeah.
already done the drive and you want to just fly between the two towns, or you need to because you live in one or the other, that would be a great way to do it if they can do it with more fuel efficient hybrid aircraft, and more probably more feasible because of the short duration of the flight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking weight. I mean, to carry that much weight with batteries, that's a big offset.
I think that's why hybrid is probably going to be the answer.
Instead of full
not
electric.
just full electric, but I don't know. What do I know?
No, their
technology moves
website
forward.
says 60% more silent. How can you be more silent? You're either silent or you're not. But anyway, 60%
use
more
of the word, yeah.
silent and smoother than fossil fuel, zero tailpipe emissions, and super low greenhouse gas emissions, 90% cost reduction in fuel, and 50% in maintenance. But you're right, guys. It's only going to work on short hops for the moment until someone finds out a way to, extend that battery life.
Yep. Yeah, we have to wait for technology, I think, to catch up with the battery science, or battery science to catch up with everything else.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
And if there's a representative from the Ampere website here, the term you're looking for is quieter.
Yes.
More, what did they say?
Or more quiet.
66% more silent.
More silent.
Or silenter.
more silentist.
There's
Oh, that's
loud,
noisy.
louder, silent, silenter.
Silentist.
All right, moving on. 6, Sean.
Speaking of silence.
Oh, it's nice. Yeah. Sean has an update for us. We talked about this article, Why Are Cathay Pilots Going Blind Mid-Flight? He says, ignoring the low-hanging fruit jokes about choice of reading material in the cockpit, why are Cathay pilots going blind mid-flight? And Hong Kong's Air Accident Investigation Authority confirmed it is looking into a pair of disconcerting mid-air incidents involving Cathay Pacific captains. According to the agency, in both cases, the captains became unable to be performing flight duties after reporting vision impairment during the international flights. Each time, the co-pilots were forced to take command of the aircraft. Oh my gosh.
Terrifying.
Terrible.
Yeah. I think we kind of talked about that the last time. I think it could be. Sometimes, people say, you're calling in sick for a trip, Jeff. Why is that? So it's a vision problem. I can't see myself going to work.
It's all called anal glaucoma.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So I don't think that's the case in this particular circumstance here. But somebody else did chime in with his Duncan says the Cathay incapacity article or incapacitation article was in the UK Daily Mail. Think National Enquirer, I guess, to help us Yanks out regarding the source of this news. Anyway, he says mail journos have a special dictionary for aviation stories. Here's an excerpt. Loss of altitude equals plummeted, ATC request. SOS, mayday, pan, cry for help. Turbulence equals violent loss of control. Wind shear, see loss of altitude above.
Yeah.
Very cute. Yeah,
there's this one factor here that age in medication, allergy medication. I don't know. They're I don't know if you watch CQ, but it's very interesting to listen to Dr. Tom talk about things that could be insidious that we don't even think about, a supplement or allergy medication or not ground testing. But what we don't have the ability to do is, of course, with hypoxia, as we climb up in altitude, the aircraft cabin isn't necessarily at sea level. It's nowhere near sea level. It's, usually between 5,000 to 8,000 feet, depending on what your true altitude is outside. So, some of these medications may interact and could, I'm just throwing this out here. It's a possibility that both of these guys could have been taking something that adversely affected them once they got to altitude, or they got hypoxic.
Yeah, our vision, our color vision is really affected quite significantly when we are experiencing hypoxic conditions.
Yeah.
Or hypoxia.
No, I don't know the exact situation with Cathay, but I'm pretty certain that their pilots are required to get their medical clearances from the company doctors, not to use their own private doctors. So you'd think those guys would have known what's going on.
You'd think so, yeah.
You'd think so, but supplementation, things that and take Chinese, for example, they use a lot of different herbs and spices and even elephant tusks. I mean, they drive a lot of the needs of some of these items in some, I guess, a black market that we don't know what their effects are, and if they don't disclose them when they go in and they're not being tested for them, you don't know what the individual is doing.
I think it's Viagra.
It could be.
Mm.
The little blue pill.
I had something to say, but then I also had a little bit of reflex there. Sorry.
That was just an interesting
She was
comment.
thinking Jeff on Viagra, and she got a little reflux in her throat.
Sorry.
We'll just move on from that.
Yeah,
It was
okay.
not an important comment anyway. Feel
right.
free to edit that out. You won't.
Okay.
That's fine.
If you read between the lines, that means, Jeff, you better edit it out or else I'll kill you.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Let's see. Item 7. Steve writes us, Steve Perry, in was it Omaha? Where we had the no, not Omaha. Tulsa. Sorry,
Tulsa.
Steve.
It says so at the bottom.
It says at the bottom. It says Steve.
Right.
Oh, I
not
didn't
the
read. I was
lead singer of Journey from Tulsa.
I was reading the very bottom, not the one you guys are reading. Okay. Jeff et al. When in APG 371, Nick was commenting about airlines going bust and the impact of Brexit. He declared, quote, "The industry is too valuable to suddenly stop flying to Europe for even a few days. Trust me on this. No one is stupid enough to let that happen." I appreciate the old curmudgeon's optimism and naivete, but for the sake of APG's accuracy rating, I need to point out that he's talking about politicians here. I'm convinced that the phrase, "none of us is as dumb as all of us," is the unofficial motto of democracies everywhere, and Nick is relying on the multiple democracies to all be smart all at the same time. And again, as you mentioned, Steve, not the lead singer of Journey from Tulsa.
Dumber in numbers is the principle.
Dumber in numbers.
At least that's what we say about our dogs.
He's got a point about politicians.
When they all get going.
Anything to rebut there, Captain Nick? Or I guess you probably think, yeah, I guess.
Well, I don't think there's anything to rebut. I happen to agree with him about his politician's comment.
Yeah,
but I stand by my statement.
I think you're right as well. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. How are we doing with the time?
20 minutes.
Close. 20. Okay, great. Looking through some of these items that are still here in our feedback folder just to see if there's anything. I do want to do number 16 for sure, but I'm going to save that until a little bit longer into this. Well, this is quick. Brian sent this in. He says, "You got to love the runway to the sky." It's a Catalina Island Conservancy. Elected officials and military leaders will gather on May 3rd, or they did apparently, to celebrate the reopening of the Airport in the Sky, which is on Catalina Island, one of the group of islands just off of the Southern California coastline. Beautiful islands, in fact. And there's a picture here. Again, we'll include this in the show notes to see the runway 22 as it kind of crests upward, and then I guess there must be a cliff or something on the other end of it, or the terrain goes back down, but it looks like the runway is just leading into the sky. It's very beautiful. Oh, well, that was interesting.
Bless you.
Thank you. Sorry. Oh, how embarrassing. Let me
was that the Viagra kicking in?
I guess so.
Speaking of,
I guess this runway really was exciting for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anyway, this is Brian Coleman. Also, we know him as Pasadena Brian. So he asks, "Have you ever flown out to Catalina? The runway sure does have an interesting hump." Well, Brian, I've had some interesting humps in my life, but I've not experienced this one.
This isn't getting any better.
Oh my God! To go the Viagra, of course.
Who started this?
I didn't.
You did.
I think I did.
You did.
Sorry. My bad.
Hey,
Okay.
Brian, I don't even know what California is, so I couldn't even.
Dana's
find
map
my
of the
way
United States ends at about Ohio.
Denver.
Yeah.
Far as west as you want to go, probably. Anyway, it looks like they rebuilt, refurbished the runway, or repaired by doing a training exercise of the Marines and the Navy sailors, the Seabees, to prepare them for missions on islands and other remote destinations. So that's kind of cool. And they said nearly 200 Marines and Seabees were deployed to Catalina Island over a 3-month period to replace the main runway's asphalt with concrete for training. And again, we'll put a link to the article here in the show notes. Also, the interesting, I thought this was kind of interesting. The first plane that will land at the newly named ACE Clearwater Airfield was built in 1944 as a World War II surplus C-47 military transport. It was then converted to a DC-3 after the war. And apparently, supposedly, the first airplane in after they opened up the airport was this airplane. It was appropriate. Okay. Oh, I had a conversation or a question about ADS-B. I thought that I had read somewhere, and I must be wrong, that it was possible for, with the more advanced implementation of ADS-B out, that certain items in your airplane that information or data could be sent out over ADS-B and read by air traffic controllers and that kind of thing. I think the example that I gave was like, they tell you to fly a certain heading or fly a certain airspeed, and they can actually tell what airspeed you're telling your auto flight system to fly. So I thought, well, that's kind of invasive. But Keith on our Kansas City layover, I've had so many meetups lately that I'm getting them all confused. Kansas City, yes, at the Q39 barbecue. We had this discussion, and he said he was going to find an answer for me, and he did, and he sent us some audio feedback.
Hello, Captains Jeff, Nick, Dana, and Dr. Steph. Keith Leary here. I'm a new private pilot since December of 2018, and found your show to kind of fill those hours when I couldn't fly in bad weather, and really enjoying it. I was able to attend the Kansas City meetup and meet Captain Jeff in person and some of the APG community, and had a good time. One of the things that we ended up talking about was someone had told Captain Jeff that ATC can see the exact heading that's in the autopilot box because of ADS-B. And I thought that was unlikely, but definitely possible. So I volunteered to do a little research to find out for sure. So here's what I found. I started looking at the actual ADS-B units that go in the aircraft, and the only input sources I could find that plug into them are transponder and GPS. Couldn't find anything else that plugs directly in there. So the transponder is going to send pressure, altitude, squawk code, ident status source, and the GPS is going to send latitude and longitude, GPS, altitude. There's also some other data that's embedded in the GPS receiver, such as call sign, category, and possibly some other things that are kind of trivial. So that's really all it's sending. There's no heading or direct connection to the autopilot. However, I went a little bit further and found a detailed specification of the ground-based transceiver that receives ADS-B from aircraft and relays it to ATC. And that was pretty interesting. There's actually, in the version 2 of ADS-B specification, a heading track filled. But that filled is only used when the target is known to be on the ground. So definitely not in flight. However, the ADS-B transmissions are sent once per second. So really, it would be fairly trivial for the software in a ATC station to kind of do the math on it, and with 1 per second updates of a GPS source, know exactly what your current heading is. So it's definitely not sent directly from your autopilot, but that's not to say the ATC couldn't see exactly what your track is. I was not able to see any ATC systems to confirm if that's on current ATC screens or not, and it honestly could vary, I suppose, depending on how old their equipment is. So unfortunately, I couldn't find anything more definitive than that, but thought it was pretty interesting, so thought I'd share. Thanks. Bye.
Okay. Thanks, Keith, for doing a little bit of research. While he was speaking there, I did do a quick search, and this is from skybrary.aero, A-E-R-O. There's, I think perhaps this is a future possibility in more advanced installations of ADS-B technology in more modern airplanes, where it's something called DAP. I probably shouldn't even talk about it right now because I'm going to have to go back in the future and explain why I was wrong about this.
I can tell you about ATC Mode S, if that helps, because we're currently transmitting a lot of our selected information down to air traffic. So when we select, for example, a new altitude on our flight control unit that we use to control the autopilot, that is transmitted down by our transponder to air traffic control. And quite honestly, ADS-B and transponders and collision avoidance systems are they're melding into like one massive system. But at the moment, this is Mode S, currently a tag on, and you have to have capability both in the air and on the ground. But London can certainly see this, so they can see your selected altitude entered on the FMS, so they know what you've dialed in when they give you a new altitude to fly to see whether you selected the correct one. They can see roll angle, true track angle rate. They can see ground speed, magnetic heading, indicated airspeed and Mach number, vertical rates of climb and descent, and a TCAS downlink is also given when you get a resolution advisory, an RA. And there's a lot more that is available, but that's currently all they bother looking at, because there's huge amounts of data that can be sent. But of course, you could max the system out if you just try to send everything. So that's what they've chosen to send at the moment. But you can be sure that in the future, if you climb into an electric airplane, and well, by that I mean not electrically powered, but just a modern machine, that whatever you do is the air traffic is going to be able to confirm that you've done the right thing. So rather than having to read back things, I suspect in the future, merely selecting them correctly will substitute for a read back.
And it'll be a safety enhancement to make sure that even though you read back this number, we can see that you actually put in the correct number.
Exactly right.
In the FCU.
Yep.
Okay. So maybe that's what I was getting confused about. Maybe I was just assuming that this is something to do with ADS-B because it's more modern technology than the Mode S transponder. But apparently I was confused. But well, thank you, Nick. I should have just asked you.
Oh, no problem.
So thank you, Keith, for attempting to answer my rather dumb question, apparently. Oh, well. And finally, we're going to end the show with some audio feedback from Vernon. And this is in honor of Captain Nick's retirement. So he sent us this.
Last summer, while my wife and I were in England, Captain Nick was gracious enough to pick us up and take us to a train station, and on the way we stopped at a pub to have fish and chips, and we shared a local beer named after Gustav, a homing pigeon. That led to Captain Nick's plain tales about homing pigeons. And then later on, during episode APG 345, he had a story, The Wave Scrapers, about the Civil Air Patrol, in which he mentioned Gil Rob Wilson, the founder of the Civil Air Patrol. I left some feedback after that about Gil Rob Wilson, since I knew him in my youth. And Gil Rob Wilson wrote The Airman's World, which was copyrighted in 1957. So in honor of Captain Nick's retirement, I would like to read something out of Gil Rob Wilson's publication. It's called One of the Trusted. And remember, this was 1957, so some of the wording may be different than we're used to today. But here's one of the trusted in honor of Captain Nick and his retirement. You are at cruising altitude. The western sun is pink on the disk. Your eyes flicks the gauges. The engines are contented. Another day, another dollar. You look down at your hands on the wheel. They are veined and hard and brown. Tonight you notice that they look a little old. And by George, they are old. But how can this be? Only yesterday you were in flying school. Time is a thief. You have been robbed. And what do you have to show for it? A pilot, 20 years a pilot, a senior pilot. And what of it? Just a pilot. Then the voice of the stewardess breaks in on your reverie. The trip is running full, 84 passengers. Can she begin to serve them dinner to the passengers? The passengers, oh yes, the passengers. You notice the line of them coming aboard, the businessmen, the young mothers with children in tow, the old couple, the two priests, the four dog faces. 1,000 times you have watched them file aboard and 1,000 times disembark. They always seem a little gayer after the landing than before the takeoff. Beyond doubt, they are always somewhat apprehensive aloft. But why do they continuously come up here in the dark sky despite their apprehension? You have often wondered about that. You look down at your hands again, and suddenly it comes to you. They come because they trust you, the pilot. They turn over their lives and their loved ones and their hopes and their dreams to you for safekeeping. To be a pilot means to be one of the trusted. They pray in the storm that you are skilled and strong and wise. To be a pilot is to hold life in your hands, to be worthy of faith. No, you have not been robbed. You aren't just a pilot. There's no such thing as just a pilot. Your job is a trust. The years have been a trust. You have been one of the trusted. And who could be more? Congratulations on your retirement, my friend, Captain Nick, and we trust you will continue your plain tales with the APG crew. Signing off, this is Vernon Tryon, retired CFI, former air traffic controller from Fort Morgan, Colorado.
You can count on it, Vernon. He ain't going anywhere.
We won't let him.
Nope.
You can't retire from here.
Yeah, we have too much dirt
Mhm.
that we release.
What a lovely, lovely piece of work, isn't it? Isn't that great? And beautifully read, Vernon. Thank you very much, with such emotion. And yeah, I'm feeling quite emotional here myself now.
Uh-oh. Well, we certainly didn't mean to do that. Or maybe
No,
he
good,
did.
Good job, Vernon.
Yeah.
That's
thank
a
you,
job
Jen.
well done there.
Very, very much so. Okay. Well, with that, again, lots of stuff that we weren't able to get to today as far as feedback is concerned. So, but don't let that stop you from sending it in. Again, you can do that by sending your feedback to feedback@airlinepilotguide.com, or you can use SpeakPipe. Go to our website and you'll see how you can do that. We have apps for iOS and Android devices on the appropriate app stores, and there you can use the app to also send us feedback and do a lot more. We are also on social media.
The social meds. You can find us on Twitter at APG Crew. If you prefer the 280 character or less interaction type deal. You can also head over to facebook.com/airlinepilotguy. A little bit more going on there in terms of length of posts. You can share articles. We have plenty of folks doing that there, discussing all things aviation. Chat with us a little bit as well. Find out information about feedback meetups, before Jeff heads over to Slack, I'm also going to put a quick plug in for the APG Crew Instagram also, which I've been uploading a few things to here and there. Probably just going to use that a lot for meetup photos for the time being and other interesting aviation related pictures. So that is APG Crew, all one word, on Instagram.
All right. And hello. You're sorry. Can you come over here and do the Slack thing?
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share ideas and news. We suggest episode and Plain Tales topics. We plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com, or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled HI11E1, Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thanks a lot, Hillel.
Did he wash his hands this time?
I hope so.
I think he was in a little bit of a rush.
Yeah. Well, we'll move away. Go wash your hands. Okay. Okay. I don't have that down yet. Okay. Sound like Kermit the Frog.
That's just Jeff's generic voice for anyone who's not himself. Okay.
With that, thank you for sending in all the feedback and being participants in our wonderful community, for downloading and watching and listening and reviewing and all that. And until next time, wishing you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care and God bless.
Cheers, y'all.
Bye, everybody.
Have a great day.
Boom.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
Oh, well, the good news is I started to feel much better about halfway through. Sorry for the beginning there where my head was just like floating away from my body with all of the congestion.
So that what kind of medication you taking again?
Zyrtec D.
Zyrtec. So that did the trick, huh?
It usually does. It takes a minute to kind of kick in. So my apologies to anyone listening to the beginning of the show, because I just felt like I was not quite with it.
No, you sounded
I
fine.
Fooled you a little bit?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, because I didn't feel like I was. But anyway.
Yeah,
it was one of those things where I felt okay like during the day as I was working, and then as I was like driving home, it was like getting worse and worse again. I felt like crap when I woke up this morning. Kind of pushed through that, and then it was back. And now I'm better. So
I got better.
It got better. And I'll probably
Here I am talking. I can't. Nobody's hearing what I'm saying because the damn thing's muted.
Because they're ignoring me again.
What else is new? That's the story of my life.
Do you hear something?
Huh? Hello?
Not a damn thing now.
All quiet.
Yeah.
It's quiet on the front.
Yes.
So,
all right.
Well, thank
I
you.
am the first in to drop my audio in. Woohoo!
Wow.
I haven't even stopped my recorder yet.
I haven't either.
I haven't either.
Stop.
I don't
There
think
we
Jeff
go.
needs it today. I don't think you need it.
No, I'm not gonna. I don't. There was like only a little burble at the very beginning, and most people are used to hearing that kind of stuff anyway. So.
I mean, if I send it to you, you just have to listen to the banging even more. So
yeah, don't worry about it. If I need it, I'll let you know.
Let me know. I'm not going to upload it.
Banging and humping.
Perfect.
Show title.
Banging on.
Well, you did a good job of keeping your poop in a pile, Steph. Well done.
Yes.
Thanks. I wasn't sure if I was successfully pulling that off or not, but it's amazing how terrible allergies. Like it's definitely not a cold. It's just allergies, but it's amazing how terrible they can make you feel.
Mm-hmm.
So. At first, I was a little worried.
Okay. Sorry, you carry on, Steph. I was just about to comment on Jeff's. You must have a green screen now, Jeff. What's going on back there?
That's the TV that I have behind me.
Oh, you put your TV
the resolution
there?
comes out really nice.
Yeah, it does.
On the video.
That's I believe that's the Concorde right there.
It
Yeah,
looks
it
like it. Yep.
It's an Embraer.
No, don't think so.
Having just seen the Concorde on
It's got the
Sunday.
same steering levers.
Yeah.
That was nice to have the little to be there for the demonstration of the nose drooping. That was
Oh,
cool.
that's nice.
Yeah. I need to upload that video. It's like 8-10 minutes long, but
Can you tell what
edit
this is?
It's a 727. No, it's something with 3 engines. So
Yeah.
L1011.
L1011.
L1011. Yeah. I think there's another one in here that's better.
I flew the Brasilia.
You have a Brazilian, did you say? Sorry, Dan?
Yes, once.
I mean, you gotta.
What'd you think of the landing strip?
It was high and tight.
Huh.
On here too. Boy.
Man Micah says he thinks you take. You read that, did you?
I saw that. I was trying to type back to him one-handed, so I
Okay.
didn't get any capital letters in there, but he'll get the idea.
Oh my God! What hotel room is that, Jeff?
It's a very nice one. It's an Asian kind of.
No, I was
All right, so we're talking about humping and kneeling, and then Viagra. Now we're talking about Asians in the hotel room.
Oh my God! Look at that! What a nightmare of a cockpit.
That's the 7.2 right there, man.
Wow, that's cramped.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
It didn't feel that cramped though. But
as long as you didn't want to get out and go to the toilet, yeah.
You can actually sort of stand up. You wouldn't be able to stand up there, but I think
You can sort of stand up. Is that what you said?
Jeff can stand up.
Like it's
well,
you're
I
on
can
your
so-
feet. at
Yeah, I
least.
can sort of stand up. Yeah, and be like 3 feet tall.
Yeah, you can stand up if you're on your knees.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's standing, strictly speaking.
Okay, well, get technical on me then.
Sorry.
Get all technical on me.
Trying to burst your bubble here.
I know. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna sign off.
Okay. Well, thanks, Dana, for hanging with us. Good to have you for the whole show.
Yeah, it's great
I'm
to
glad
be here.
your roof's been done. Well done.
I'm available all next week except for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Okay.
Hey, can you stick around for just a moment after I don't know how much longer you're going to let the
let's
the live
leave
feed
discuss
go.
it. And we'll say au revoir.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Bye, everybody.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Adios.
Thanks
Ciao.
for being here.
Sayonara.
What was that?
I don't know what that is. Okay, hang on. I got to hit the right button here.